Good evening. Welcome to the November 18th meeting of the Watsonville City Council. Can we move to roll call, please?
Bielicic,
Present.
Cubman Gomez. Present. Dodge. Hernandez.
Here.
First. Here. Montesino. Cervantes.
Everyone, please stand and join me in our Pledge of Allegiance. Flag of the United States of America, and to the liberty and justice for all. Just to let everybody know, we do have translation equipment available right over here at this table. Para usar los aparatos de traducir en español, obtenga un aparato de la mesa junto de la caseta de traducir. Prende y use el canal 0. Cuélgaselo en el cuello con la frente así fuera. Si no puede oír, revise que el aparato esté encendido y sin obstrucciones. Solo funciona dentro de la Cámara del Concilio. If anybody needs translation equipment, it's right here. Next is oral communication from the public and then from the council. This is the time to address us on items that are not on the agenda and within the jurisdiction of the City Council. When you do so, please state your name and the district you reside in. Public comment.
Marilyn Garrett, retired teacher from Pajaro Valley Schools, and I'm always prioritizing health, especially of children, and trying to avoid and urge others to avoid toxic exposures. And I want to share with you the letter of the American Academy of Environmental Medicine of March 18, 2013 to LA, Los Angeles City Schools. And of course, this is pertinent to all schools. The American Academy of Environmental Medicine comprises medical doctors, osteopaths, and PhD researchers focusing on the effects of environmental agents on human health. For 40 years, the Academy has trained physicians to treat the most difficult to heal patients who are often overlooked by our medical system because the cause of their illness is a chemical, solvent, or toxic metal, not a bacteria, virus, or other traditionally understood cause. In recent years, our members and colleagues have reported an increase in patients whose symptoms are reversible by eliminating wireless radiation devices in their homes, such as cell phones, cordless phones, and wireless internet systems. And I know you have wireless internet in here as well. There is a consistent emerging science that shows people, especially children, are affected by the increasing exposure to wireless radiation. In September 2010, the Journal of the American Society for Reproductive Medicine, Fertility and Sterility reported that only 4 hours of exposure to a standard laptop using Wi-Fi caused DNA damage to human sperm. In May 2011, the World Health Organization elevated exposure to wireless radiation, including Wi-Fi, onto the Class 2B list of carcinogens. In October 2012, the American Academy of Environmental Medicine issued a public warning about Wi-Fi in schools that stated, adverse health effects from wireless radio frequency fields, such as Learning disabilities, altered immune responses, and headaches clearly exist and are well documented in the scientific literature. Safer technology, such as use of hardwiring, is strongly recommended in schools, unquote. In December 2012, the American Academy of Pediatrics, representing 60,000 pediatricians, wrote to Congress requesting it update the safety levels of microwave radiation exposure, especially for children and pregnant women. I don't know how much. I'll give you a copy of this, but every elected official, every parent, every person responsible for health and for children should be working to remove this known harm to children and not acting like it doesn't exist. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Temp and City Council members. I'm Brad Blatchley with the Parks and Community Services Department. And tonight I'd like to announce two upcoming holiday events. Again, as in the past two holiday seasons, the city's received a gift of a live holiday tree from a local business. It's displayed in the City Plaza. Park staff have been busy decorating it with lights and trees and ornaments. In addition, the Si Se Puede has supplied volunteers this afternoon to help decorate the shrubs along Main Street. And tomorrow from 3 to 5 p.m., the community is invited to help come out and decorate other areas of the plaza, and park staff will be present to assist with that. And this is all leading up to the holiday tree lighting ceremony, which will be on Sunday, December 7th at 5 p.m. And in addition to lighting of the tree, the event will feature performances by 2 local choirs and also a visit from Santa Claus. And after the holiday season, the nice thing about this gift is that the tree is then planted in its permanent home in a city park for residents to enjoy for decades to come. And in addition, for those that have a separate electrical panel for their holiday lights and decorations, I'd like to announce the Holiday Home Decorating Competition. This annual contest is sponsored by the City Beautification Committee and the Parks and Community Services Department. And we're taking entries now, and they're judged in the following categories. Best outdoor lighted tree, best indoor lighted tree, best yard and house with a religious theme, best house and yard with a contemporary theme, best mobile home, best neighborhood, and best decorated door. So the entry deadline for this competition is December 8th at 5 p.m. Entries may be submitted to the Parks and Community Services Department at 231 Union Street. And if folks have more information about either of these two events, they may contact the department at 768-3240 or visit the city website at cityofwatsonville.org. Thank you.
Anybody else? If not, we'll return to council oral communication. Nancy?
First of all, I wanted to thank all of the people that supported the Wine and Roses event for the Paro Valley Community Health Trust. A lot of people attended that event, and it's a good community event. I also had an opportunity to have students from Pacific Coast Charter School come through the council chamber on a field trip, and they really enjoyed it, had a good time, and had an understanding a little bit about government. So that was a very positive event. I went to the Seba dedication over on Rodriguez, well, it's on Locust and Riverside, basically. And they have a new school there, and are looking forward to having students acquire skills to go to college. And it was a nice event. That was on Saturday. I also had a very positive meeting with the Bay Village Homeowners Association about their concerns of things happening in the community and what they can do to make a difference. I encouraged them to continue to vote. That's what they did. And they seemed happy with many of the results that have transpired. And so I commended them for expressing their opinions and democracy. And then I also want to thank Parks and Community Rec for the Christmas tree. I think it's great to have a tree in the plaza. I know there's a lot of work that staff puts in, the recreation staff and other people, volunteers, and I think it's very, very great because we're getting ready for the holidays. Seems a little bit early because we haven't had Thanksgiving, but it's not going to be lit yet, so we're waiting for December. So thank you for your work. That concludes my remarks.
Thank you, Councilmember Bilicic. Is that Councilmember Lowe?
Thank you very much, Mayor Pro Tem. You know, I've been out of town for a week, and I missed some important events here locally, but I was celebrating my Aunt Cleo's 100th birthday. Now, not everybody has an Aunt Cleo, and not everybody has a 100th birthday, and so that was a pretty special opportunity for me to be with her and family. But I did miss the wine and roses, and I regret that. But I also regret missing the Veterans Day celebration, and I'm so pleased to see the write-up in the newspaper and hear from veterans who have served the country long and hard, and to have that special day and their recognition, and so congratulations to all the vets.
Councilmember Dodge?
Thank you, Honorable Mayor Pro Tem. Good evening. I too attended the Wine and Roses event, and as a founding member of the Pajaro Valley Community Health Trust, it really is one of the social events of the Pajaro Valley, and I want to thank Kathleen King and all her volunteers for hosting us on another fine evening. I also had the pleasure of attending the naming of the Oscar Rios Highway on 129. A very historical event for a very historical gentleman. It was really nice to be able to honor one of our local heroes and to be able to see a who's who of folks that have made significant change in our community. Very honored to have lived that long to be able to see something like that and still have most of my faculties intact. So I wanted to be able to thank members of the community to be able to supported me throughout the years. You know, with the naming of the Oscar Rios Freeway, I came back to all those memories and realized that almost a third of the town does not remember the 1989 Loma Prieta earthquake. That was kind of shocking, but I've been involved in our community since that time period. It's been an honor and a pleasure. You know that we live in a very special place in a very special time, and words can't express the gratitude that I've been able to participate through the bottom of sitting on the outside of City Hall to having the key, literally. So I just wanted to be able to acknowledge those kind of things, Mayor Pro Tem, and look forward to the presentation that's coming up rather quickly here. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Trina Kaufman-Gomez?
Yes, thank you. I have my notes, so I'll be as brief as I can. I do want to say that I would like to thank working with Mr. Montesino and Mr. Dodge on council here as well. So thank you for all of the service you've done in our community here on council, and it was my pleasure working with you. I would also, got holidays coming up, a lot of things going on there. I Loaves and Fishes, I know that I'll be down there with probably a few of the Rotarians I see here in the audience. And this past week, you've seen yet another strike at the hospital, the Watsonville Community Hospital. It's been a result of the 2 years without a union contract, and I believe both management and union have been working with mediators the past couple days. Hopefully they'll be able to reconcile some of their differences. A brief understanding is that the hospital lost nearly 10% of their seasoned nursing staff, about 25 nurses, that were part of the critical care and the neonatal care units. and primarily leaving due to competitive wages and better work environments. This leaves our community hospital with staff working longer hours, about 18-hour shifts, which can affect patient care and can possibly compromise the performance or the safety of the work environment if deprivation sets in as a result of the overtime coverage. As a member of my community and have had 3 generations born at Watsonville Community Hospital, I really would like to see that their goal for our community is to resolve the differences and see to it that these negotiations get worked out expeditiously in order to allow what nursing staff invested in our community to remain here while also attracting the right staffing balance to cover the shifts so that the safety of the patients remains first and foremost. So I do hope that the mediation process occurring here will deliberate those items as well. And I have a few other things for future agenda items. I know that looks like I've got a little bit more time. I'd like to talk, I know that we have the state pension, which is the CalPERS situation. I want to make sure that we bring this up to talk a little bit more, because as we're getting into this next fiscal year, we're going to see some fiscal impact on this, which will affect our budgets here for the city. The homeless project targets South County. The first time that we've done this, South County, to help with the advocacies that are helping our homeless situation. Many people participated with that, and it was a great success with volunteers and the resources for a lot of people that don't otherwise have the need or could possibly be homeless or needing those kind of additional resources. So that was a very good event that took place here just recently. And anyway, I have a few other things that will come up. I'll ask for it to be maybe placed on the agenda shortly, but nonetheless, thank you for your time.
Anyone else? Councilmember Monsino? So I too want to congratulate Oscar Rios. I was there at the naming of the highway here on the 129. It was a great event. Saw a lot of old people that I haven't seen in quite a while, and it's some people that kind of inspired me to.
I wasn't there.
Inspired me to I one day run for council. I also, many of the same events we all went to. I went to the Paro Valley Health Trust Wine and Roses event. I think it's the 5th consecutive time that I've gone to it. It's one of my favorite events here in the area, here in Watsonville. Great food, great wine, a lot of people. It's a really fun event. And it's also for a very important cause for diabetes. I also want to invite people to the Paro Valley Arts Council, which currently has a great exhibit going on right now, and it's right here, right by the YMCA. I encourage everyone to go over and take a look at it. Great art. They always have great exhibits there. The other thing is I want to give kudos to the Peace and Unity Coalition that had a great Peace and Unity March. They involved many of the local nonprofits here. And it's, one of the biggest ones that we've had in quite a while, I think since the first one, when we actually got a lot of nonprofits, local nonprofits involved. And I hope that tradition continues where everybody comes together for issues like this. The other thing I wanted to mention that wasn't mentioned earlier was we have the factory sale coming up. It's the holiday season almost, and the city promotes a factory sale where a lot of the local businesses have factory sales, like Annie Glass, the wineries, a lot of products that are made here locally in Watsonville. But I also want to encourage everyone just to, always consider buying local, whether it be made here or not, but still buy local during the holidays. And last, I want to encourage everyone to volunteer at the lighting of the plaza. It's always a great, tomorrow from 3 to 5 or 3 to 6. It's always fun. I participated last time, and it was a great event where bunch of people just came together and helped out to light the whole plaza up. We spent a couple of hours there. We had coffee and everything. So I want to encourage everyone to, come together for events like that, lighting the plaza. And that's it for my comments. Next, we have a report out of closed session. Council.
Thank you. The council considered all 3 items in the closed session agenda this evening, but took no final action on any one of the 3 items.
Thank you. We have an item here that's, I don't think it's in the order of the agenda, but we have a beautification committee winners list that we wanted to present awards to. The first one is in Lowellhurst district. We have a microphone here that if you would wish to use. So the first one is to the home of Ephraim and Rosalina Sotelo. Are they here? Are they present? Oh. Si se pueden venir acá enfrente.
Thank you. Let me introduce Efren and Rosalina Sotelo from 100 Amber Court. And some people probably don't know where Amber Court is, do they? How many people here know where Amber Court is? Not you folks. There you go. It's the family, right? Well, I know that it was a family deal because you couldn't have had such a nice landscape without the help and work of many, many. And so we hereby congratulate and recognize the Sotelos for being chosen the House and Garden of the Month for, this is for the last July, and presented by the City Council. And I want to thank the Beautification Committee because they went out of their way to find your hidden gem. You know, they went out of the way to locate that, and they spot award-winning landscapes all over town, and it's very impressive how they work and are able to pick up on those hidden gems as well. And so, Ephraim and Rosalina, thank you very much. Congratulations. We'd like to have the rest of the family up here for a moment too to share in the recognition and joy, if we could. Would someone like to say a few words on behalf of the family?
And you're welcome to take pictures as well.
Hi, good night, everyone. Thank you for having us. So these are my parents. They won the beautification, and we pretty much all contributed to the house. My dad did a lot of the landscaping. My mom did some of the organizing. My sister, she did some of the organizing as well. And we all contributed with plants that we bought locally and from San Jose. And we pretty much put a whole effort when we moved back from Sacramento to really restore it back to its glory, because when we moved back, the grass was like dead and it was dirt, and we had to restore it back and fix a lot of the stuff from the fence. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, and congratulations, and thank you for your hard work and effort. We're very pleased that you're making our town look better all the time. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you. So next we have in District 7, Councilmember Nancy Billish's district, Scott and Jenny Taylor, which is the previous winner and also the current winner, Eric Johnson. If you can please step up.
Okay, here we have Dan Johnson, and he is accepting this award on behalf of his son, Eric. And this is for Eric's home on Washington Street. Beautiful, beautiful home. Well, you want to say, well, where in the heck is Eric? Eric can't be here tonight because he's a teacher and he's meeting with families. So Dad is here, and he is going to accept this award on behalf of Eric. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Do you have anything you want to say?
Again, Eric can't be here because he's busy with parents, but he definitely wanted me to say, to send his regards, thanking the committee and the city council for their part in doing this. It was a lot of work. It was a family job. He's extremely pleased. His neighbors are pleased, and it's just nice to, as we say, rejuvenate the neighborhood and the house. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care. And the Taylors, they're not here, but they also have done another fine job with their home, and it's on Virginia Street. And we thank them for all of their hard work in beautifying the neighborhood, Scott and Jenny Taylor. Thank you.
Councilmember Nancy Bilicich. We also have Esther Campos, which wasn't able to make it, but they have an award, but they weren't able to make it as well.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, they're in the Bay Village community. Esther Campos, another resident who is doing something positive in the neighborhood. So thank you for her hard work too. Appreciate it.
And next we have the business of the month is First Baptist Church. Pastor Ellen Barnes here? No? Okay, that's District 5, Daniel Dodge. Just for the sake of, letting people know, we also have another one in District 2, Karina, which is not here today. Hilda Rodriguez that had received one but wasn't able to make it here today. So next we have presentations from the Freedom Rotary and Watsonville Rotary and the Watsonville Firefighters Association of donation to the city for the Fire Museum project. If you can please come to the podium.
Mayor Pro Tem, City Council, City staff, my name is Pablo Barreto. I am the interim fire chief and fire marshal. I want to say thank you for this project. This has really rejuvenated our fire department and some history for the city. The building was originally built back in the late 1800s and became city property sometime in the early 1900s. I just have a few pictures here to show you. Basically, the museum started in 1925. The City Council, or the City of Watsonville, the Freedom Rotary, the Watsonville Rotary Club, the Watsonville Firefighters Association, as well as the Watsonville Professional Firefighters Local 1272 participated not only manually but financially in this project. And it has created an amazing place to visit. This is the station, the original station that was quite decrepit as far as paint, and had some severe damage of exposed brick and wood that was starting to be affected, which could cause eventual damage and more repairs. So it was in different arrays throughout the building, and it was basically an eyesore for us because we have so much ties to that building. And it was basically a good corner for the city to get some exposure. And because of all the efforts of all parties involved, we were able to really create a beautiful building. The painters did an amazing job really capturing some of the artwork, architecture, as well as original colors of the building. And so we have now I call it the new fire station, and I encourage everybody to come visit. And I'd like to call up all the members involved up to the podium to give a presentation, as well as Councilmember Kaufman Gomez, who headed this project up.
Come on, trainer.
Step up, don't be shy, please.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Temp and City Manager Carlos Palacio and the Council Chamber. My name is Vince Garcia, President of Freedom Rotary. This project for our club came to light when Watsonville Fire Department invited our club to come over as part of the vocational visit. We enjoyed our day having lunch and fellowship with the staff of the fire department. While on the visit, we saw the need for a community project that Freedom Rotary could be a part of and make an impact within our community. Our past president, Trina Kaufman, took the leadership role from our club and began to discuss the possibilities of making this one of our projects for the year. This project was a joint effort project between the Rotary Clubs of Freedom, Watsonville, Firefighters Association, and the City of Watsonville, was a service-based project for recognition while serving as a club's hands-on project for beautification effort of a public historic facility. We fell short of funds to complete the project. That's when our fire chief, Pablo Barreto, Ed Banks, and Trina Kaufman decided on having a chicken barbecue fundraiser to complete the funds needed. I was very impressed how, when a committee comes together, you can get so much accomplished and energy level goes above and beyond. I want to thank all the volunteers that took time out of their busy schedules and family time to bring the beauty and luster of this important historical site back to its glory days. There were 24 volunteers with an average of 3-hour shifts. 3 volunteers. These volunteers were Rotarian families, Interact students, firefighters, and retired fire personnel. Their responsibilities were to paint the fence for 4 hours one weekend, where we had four Freedom Rotarians volunteer that day of the barbecue event, which was set up at 8 a.m. and concluded by 4 p.m. There were 3-hour shifts assigned. The assignments were set up for ticket sales, kitchen work, packing meals, preparing food, and cleaning up. It gives me great honor to present this check of $2,600 to the City of Watsonville from the Club of Freedom Rotary, as per our motto in Rotary, service above self. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Hernandez, City Council members, and staff. I'm Ed Banks, Treasurer of the Watsonville Firefighters Association, also former reserve firefighter with the City of Watsonville, and it's my pleasure to also echo the sentiments that Vince has made. We were in desperate need of having a facelift for the museum and weren't sure how to go about it, but a couple of innovative people and imaginative people stepped up, and not to diminish their participation, because it wouldn't have happened without, I think, is it Susie Merriman? Yeah, city staff. She really put the colors together and made that project a reality. So with her help, as well as the financial assistance from the Rotary clubs, the Firefighters Association, Local 1272, the professional firefighters, it's my pleasure, on behalf of the Firefighters Association, to give the city a check for $1,000 as our part in the project. And because the Rotary Club of Watsonville seems to be missing in action, I've made up an IOU that I will present to City Manager Palacios, and hopefully he'll be able to collect it tomorrow at Rotary, okay, for the other $1,000. And just so you know, we're also using this as a kickoff for to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the city's first piece of motorized apparatus, 1915 Seagrave fire engine. We will, and it is operational, by the way, after many years and more dollars of investment, but we will be implementing and starting a brick campaign. More information will be available over time, but the bricks will be like this. They will be placed in areas on the driveway in front of the museum, so that all who pass by, contribute, will be able to see in some fashion a memorial either to a family member or themselves if they'd like. But more information on that will be coming. Again, thanks very much.
Yes, it was a very honorable project to do. I hope that all of you have a chance to come take a look at the museum. It was great having all of the crew to help. We have our fire chief here, who was the first in line to go ahead and come forward and help us with this project in terms of manpower, and setting a very good example and precedent for the crew that he works with and he's representing. So it was a very good project, and thank you very much.
And if anybody else would like to speak, please feel free to do so.
I would just note that the city contributed $10,000 to this project. So the city of Watsonville came up with a big part of the actual cost as well.
I too want to thank the city and the Rotary clubs and the firefighters, everyone that participated in this event, because that firehouse was looking kind of shabby and really needed some TLC. Very happy that it's happened, and I think the brick campaign should be another positive event. I know that barbecue, there were a lot of people that went through, so there's a lot of support for the fire station and this historical building. And it was great to see the community come out for that event. So thanks to all who participated, and the more that will be coming with the brick campaign. Thank you.
I just want to make one more brief comment too. Corey, thanks so much for coming in and helping out with the project as well, because I know that we were running a little bit short on the funds, and I know that the union, I believe, is also helped out with the association, allowing them a little bit more money to maybe work on a few of the projects there at the museum itself in the future, bring in some of the firefighters on there. I think the newer crew are also very excited to be able to put some hands-on work into the museum, and in perpetuity, the staff and the crew there will be able to have future projects to work together on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And whenever you do have barbecues, make sure you let the council know here at the council meetings, and the brick campaign, let us know when that begins as well. Next, we have a presentation by Oscar Rios on behalf of Fiestas Patrias.
Good evening, Vice Mayor, Council. Buenas noches. My name is Oscar Rios, and I'd like to introduce our volunteers and members of Fiestas Patrias Committee. This is the folks that have made possible for the last 25 years to do the Cinco de Mayo and the 16th of September celebration. Thank you. Pueden sentarse. The committee has brought together a picture that we'd like to give you, to you and for the city. It's a thank you for your constant support for our event. Some members were not able to be here today because they're working. But in 1989, after the earthquake shook us all up and left the city, especially downtown, in shambles, and it was 1990 that we first said we need to do something downtown, especially because it was at the time my district, District 2 and District 1, that had been really destroyed, the whole downtown. And we needed to do something. So we started with the first Cinco de Mayo, and it was on Peck Street. We had everybody since then, it's always been volunteers. We had a little made-up stage, but we had fun. And we have pictures that show that this building wasn't here, like a lot of buildings. That was 1990. Since then, we continued to do the 16th of September celebration. And we found out that it was many, many years ago that the 16th of September celebration was celebrated by a committee. They used to have parades, they used to have, I think, queens and bandas, all of that. But somehow it died out. So it was a really good pleasure and a real honor to have continued to celebrate the 16th of September. Well, now we have 25 years that we have been doing and celebrating both events. And what has kept us going has been a lot of the support and sponsors and really backup like the city has given us. And we're really grateful for that. All of us here, as you see, are all volunteers. We work, we come, and we do those events. We do them from morning until nighttime. We bring many thousands of people downtown. And we started it because we wanted to revitalize and help the downtown in 1989, 1990, that was really down. And that was our first initiation to help revitalize the downtown. And that's still our goal today, to help revitalize the downtown. When our two events are done and we bring the thousands of people, we also feel that they come and they shop around the areas, they hang around the areas, and it helps the downtown. It helps businesses. But more important, I think that to continue the culture of this community, we all know that Watsonville, it has over 160 years of existence, or even more now. And it has had a variation of cultures, and it still has cultures. Some of those cultures are celebrated, some of those are no longer celebrated. But we are very fortunate to live in a city where there is a multinational, different ethnics. But now in Watsonville, we are about, I think the last time I counted, I think it was about 90%, I think, Latino, Mexicano. They live in this community, help this community go forward. And I think that having two events that celebrate the culture of this community and injects it and mixes it with the cultures of other nationalities, it just makes Watsonville be a very, very strong culture center. And I think that the arts center there is here, the culture events that happen every year, those are great events. So that's why we came here today. We wanted to present you this photo, to you, this picture that shows the public, shows the city, you can show it to them. And we wanted to do it to you because, again, we feel that Watsonville is growing. Watsonville will continue to be here as a strong community. The culture has to continue. We want to continue celebrating Cinco de Mayo and the 16th of September to bring new generations. It's always a pleasure, when I go somewhere and I meet a young person now, or you see some of these young men and women here, that they say to us, wow, my mom used to take me there. My dad used to take me there. And we used to celebrate. And today, thanks to those times that our parents brought us, we still carry on, our traditions and our cultures. So again, we wanted to thank you. We wanted to present our committee. Muchas gracias a todos ustedes por siempre darnos el apoyo y siempre seguir adelante. Y con los jóvenes, los invitamos que participen con nosotros. So thank you very much. Gracias.
Thank you very much. Would anybody in the committee like to come up as well? ¿Hay alguien del comité que le gustaría hablar también?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Watsonville City Council, for letting me be up here and speak, but that's what we need, more people like Oscar. I really don't know how he does what he does, but for one man to control that shindig that we have every twice a year, this man has I could say a lot of what, but he has a lot of guts to do what he does. And I myself feel very grateful to be part of his party to help out, because myself, I owe Watsonville a lot. When my family, we came here to Watsonville, Watsonville was very, very prejudiced. When I was a little boy, to be honest about it, being that I'm half Mexican and half white, some parts of Watsonville, we weren't allowed. And I'll never forget that, especially when I walked into one restaurant one time and they said, no Mexicans allowed. Okay. I never forgot that. So now what I have done, I have joined the Lions Club, and I have given the Lions Club half of my life because we, the Lions Club, we help a lot of people in Watsonville. And when I say half of my life, I've been doing the Lions Club for 40 years. I'm 80 years old right now, and I'm going to keep on doing it as long as Oscar lets me help. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a beautiful picture, and I've always enjoyed, the Fiestas Patrias. I think the first one I went to was probably in '94, I think, might have been '94. And we got to do, back then, I started from the morning and went all night. Later on, I was too tired to be doing that. But it was always a great event, and it's always thousands of people that come out to the Cinco de Mayo and 16th of September celebrations. I think it adds a lot to the city here, to the cultural aspect of the city as well, to celebrate things like that, continue to, do those celebrations. Councilmember Montesino?
Yeah, just really want to thank your longevity, having been doing this for 25 years, volunteering day in and day out, because it's not just one day, because you guys have to get organized and get everything together. So it's multiple days, maybe months, to get everything there, and to get because we just see the day of. So I really want to thank all the committee, Oscar putting it together, and just an awesome event, a treasure for the community for years on, and let's hope for another 25 years, Oscar. Thank you.
Councilmember Lowhurst?
Yes, Oscar, we do remember that earthquake, and we do remember your service to the community as vice mayor, mayor, and I was certainly pleased to be your vice mayor as well. And so thank you for continuing to chug along and bring others along, and thank the committee for their hard work, and it is hard work. And so we appreciate your gift of that wonderful photo, and we will hang it in the most prominent place that we can find. But we thank you from our heart for all your dedication and bringing others along, the work of the committee. Thank you so much. We look forward to these cultural events, and I'm always honored to be there and to support you in any way I can. Thank you.
Councilmember Dodge?
I too want to thank you for everything, Oscar. It's been an emotional week, I think, and cause for a lot of reflection. But I also want to thank my elders in the community, or those that are older than me. And I want to thank them for continuously participating for all these years. Sometimes we don't like to acknowledge those things that happened in our history that were bad. And I appreciated the words the gentleman shared with us to reflect. It's important to reflect how far where we come from so we can visualize where we're going. And I think that the source of pride that you've installed in the young people, it's part of their norm. This holidays, the celebrations downtown are part of what they know as normal. And that's very empowering. It's a beautiful thing, and it helps bring life and a sense of spirit to our community. So, muchas gracias por todo. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next agenda item is our consent agenda. All items appearing on the consent agenda are recommended action, which are considered to be routine and acted upon in one consensus motion. There is an opportunity for any members of the public wishing to address us on any of the items on the consent agenda, which you may do so now. Any public comment on the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll return it to the council for an appropriate motion.
I'd like to pull item 4.4 for some questions.
4.4?
Yes.
4.5, or we can just discuss it. I don't
You-
care.
Whatever's easier.
Councilmember Bilicich, 4.5. Anyone else?
I'll move the consent agenda as changed.
Second that.
Do we move to a vote?
Bilicich,
Yes.
Copman Gomez,
Yes.
Dodge,
Yes.
Hurst,
Yes.
Montesino,
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes. So now we have items 4.4 and 4.5 that have been removed from the consent agenda that are now part of items 5.0. We'll start with 4.4. I forgot who had that question.
That was myself. Good evening, staff. Maybe you can present a little bit of context before not the full report, but a little bit of context on what this project is for all my listening fans
Okay.
at home.
So this item is the citywide fiber optic project, and it was a project to create a citywide fiber optic infrastructure network to connect all of our city facilities because our contract with Charter Cable ran out last June, and so it was more cost effective to build our own than to pay the rates that they were going to be charging us for this project. And so since this was our first project of this type, we did run into a few unforeseen situations in the field, and the change order reflects one of those situations. And so we had one kind of fiber optic network that was the main fiber used to connect from City Hall up to Fowl Reservoir, up to the library at Freedom, and the airport. And so that was the original project. And then we did a second project to tie in our Water Resources Center back down to City Hall. And that was used a different type of cable. And so in that change from one type of fiber cable to the other, the specification requiring a locator cable, which is very important to identify where it's located underground, was left out. And so we had to go back and just put that in later. And that's really what the bulk of this change order is about. And so we've done that. We would have had to pay for it anyway, so it's not a significant cost increase, but it is very important so that when people go to do construction projects, they are able to find the fiber optic and not break it. So that's what that is about.
So may I ask a couple of questions real quick?
Yes.
So specifically, this was compared to other municipalities around the area, the fiber optic lines that we're doing and installing. How far do they? I guess my first question is, what's the norm that other jurisdictions have in the area pertaining to the fiber optic system, as what we're preparing to install?
Well, we have completed it, and we're actually using it, so it's good. And I don't know of any other cities that have done this yet, so I think we might be the first ones. But
well, that was my recollection of what this project was, and the cost of the change order. While it might seem like a lot of money, it's minimal for a change order. But also, so now all the city facilities are up and running on this citywide fiber optic.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
And what is the life of this network and this fiber optic project that we're installing?
So we built in additional capacity since the cost of the additional fiber was incrementally minimal. And so we have capacity to sell additional fiber optic cable to other entities to actually, in hopes of helping to pay for this project, we are hoping to lease out additional capacity. We're using just a small portion of what we actually installed. And so we're hoping other companies, and I can't really name names right now, but I know there's some negotiations going on, and there is interest in utilizing this fiber network that we've installed as a public utility.
What's the quality of the fiber optic line that's put in, as some layman's terms, T1, T2, those kind of things?
Actually, I don't know the answer to that question, but I know it's probably the highest quality that's available right now. It's called dark fiber, and our IT department worked very carefully to select it. And I know there's probably not much more high-speed technology available right now in comparison to that.
So what you're telling me is the city of Watsonville has a city optic fiber network that's one of the few of the municipalities in the area with the highest quality speed internet line available?
Yes.
That was my question.
Okay, that's a good question.
Thank you. I just didn't think it should pass through without any kind of acknowledgement of what this really means and what has happened during the last couple of years.
Thank you for asking the question.
Thank you.
Is this on item 4.4?
Yes.
Okay. Councilmember Trina Kaufman-Gomez?
Before you sit down, you mentioned that there is the second phase of this. How many phases are we expecting this whole project to take?
This is the end of the project.
Okay, the end phase.
Yeah.
And there was something about an insurance claim. There was $20,420. And I don't know if and how much of that was an insurance claim involved for, I guess it was Freedom Boulevard and Cary Avenue.
Right.
Somewhere.
What happened was that a car hit a light pole. The light pole fell over, and in that process, it pulled up the box that held the cable connection and broke it. And so that repair was about $7,000, and that's included in the change order, but that will be reimbursed to the city through the insurance claim.
And are we susceptible in any way for other locations that we should be making sure that we don't have this happen, other intersections or wherever our connections would be?
We are susceptible, and so a larger long-term plan is to create a complete loop around the city so that there are always two ways for the fiber to come back to City Hall, which is the kind of the central place of the network, but we haven't done that yet, and we don't even have plans to complete that yet because it's quite expensive. But we are looking at it as a future project, but it's not one that has been completely planned yet. So the best thing we can do is, protect these cables as best as we can, and we have done that. But once in a while, they're going to get broken, and luckily there are a lot of extra cables in the lines, so we were able to switch them over pretty quickly and repair to keep the system working. And so often that's the way we're going to take care of it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Councilmember Lowell-Hurst?
Thank you. Just let me say how fortunate we are to have a public works staff that are forward-thinking, that are building a network for high-speed communication way into the future. We're lucky to be on the cutting edge of technology here, and Public Works leads the way. And so thank you very much for always looking forward.
Thank you.
So would council move forward with
So moved.
appropriate?
Second.
Go to a vote on item 4.4?
Bielicic,
Yes.
Kaufman-Gomez,
Yes.
Dodge,
Yes.
Hurst,
Yes.
Montesino,
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes. Item moves. Next item, the 4.5, sorry about that. And that was
That's mine.
Councilman Bielicic.
Yes, I just have a couple of questions. First of all, that we have the preschool operating there, and they've been there for a while. Does the city, and then I see you have an afternoon program, a teen program there. Does the city have staff that works at Marinovich too?
At the Marinovich Park, there are two facilities. One is the Marinovich Park Community Center.
Right.
And that's separate building, and adjacent to it is the child care center that the YWCA operates.
But
so we do not have any staff that assist in providing child care services through the YWCA.
So, and are they also using the same facility for the teen program?
I don't believe that they are. The executive director, Leticia Mendoza, is here, and she could certainly answer questions about other programs that that agency offers.
I also saw the monetary amount, that the child care receives approximately $4,700 per child per year. Where does that funding come from?
I believe it's state funding, and certainly Leticia can answer that. but
On
I-
our way. Yeah, that's great.
Thank you. The $4,700 we receive, most of our funding comes from the state, from the Department of Education.
And you have another facility in town?
The main offices, which are on Beach Street, 340 East Beach.
340. Oh, okay. And so there's no child care facility there.
Yes, there is a child care, but that is a partnership with Head Start that started 20 years ago. So they've been there for 20 years providing services. And it's a partnership with Head Start and the YWCA.
Then you also have a teen program in the afternoon there too?
The program that we offer is at the schools. So we go to the after-school program at various middle schools. What we do in our facility is they prepare the food there, and the curriculum. We have our facilitator and our coordinator there, and they move to the schools. Like right now we're at Pájaro and at Lakeview, and they provide services there once a week.
And then you also now have the program at Marinovich in the afternoon too?
No, at Marinovich, the only thing that we have is the preschool. It's a licensed program, so we have to follow very strict regulations in terms of what is available there and what is not. So the center is only operating. We're only there from 8:30 to 4:30.
8:30 to 4:30 with the preschool.
With the preschool. So we have a group of 48 children in the morning from 8:30 to 12. And then we have another group of kids, another 48 kids that come in from 1 to 4:30.
Well, according to this, proposal, it says also that we are looking at the YWCA teen program, but we don't, the city's not involved with that. You were involved with the school district?
Yeah, what you're looking at is the funding that we receive from community services. That's funding that we receive to support the teen program. But that we do not use the facility. No, we don't use the city facility for that. I mean, what we do provide at our main facility also is that during the summer we provide services for the children that are around our jurisdiction. Last summer we provided 1,800 lunches. We partnered with La Manzana, so we get the lunches there, and then we have about 50 children every day there for the whole week.
YWCA, I think, does a lot in our community, and I appreciate all your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And this year we're celebrating 85 years of being in the community. And I'm extending an invitation for all of you. We're going to have an open house on December 4th. And we would very much like and appreciate if you can come and meet our teens and meet our teachers and our board and see some of the things that we have done over the past 5 years since I've been there. And we'll look at some old pictures from the 1930s.
What's the time of the event?
It starts at 4:30. I'm sorry, at 5:30.
5:30 on December the 4th.
December the 4th.
Thank you.
You're invited. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So can we move
Can I
from
move? Can I move 4.5 or 5 point whatever?
And who seconded it though? Okay, Lowell, Councilmember Lowell.
I'll be glad to second it, but I do have a comment if I could.
Yes.
You know, I'd like to compliment Executive Director Mendoza for her tremendous work throughout the community in so many different ways. You know, the preschool has been at that location at Marinovich for quite a long time, actually. In fact, my 28-year-old daughter, Alexis, was at that preschool, that child care facility, during the earthquake. And so we do have a long history of cooperation and moving many, many children forward. And you can't underestimate the power of good preschool, of good child care, of getting kids ready to learn. So thank you very much for your service to young folks throughout our community. And it really is a powerful message that you provide. Thank you.
Any other discussion on the motion?
Well,
Councilmember Dodge?
Quick comment as not to let Councilmember Hurst get one up on me. Not only did I have a 28-year-old child that was at that preschool during the earthquake, I had two other children that attended that preschool and successfully graduated. So thank you very much for being instrumental in their lives. We go way back, me and Lowell. We're like this, ask anybody. What are they going to do, keep me out here?
We're very fortunate in this community. We really are.
Councilmember Trina Kaufman-Gomez?
I just have a maintenance question with regards to the lease, and that is the building itself. I know that the lease agreement shows that the city is responsible to make sure that the exterior is taken care of. And I just want to make sure, do we have anything in terms of when or expectations of any maintenance that needs to be done exterior in terms of the cost on the city? As we're getting $1 a year, it will be something that we need to make sure we've budgeted for our responsibility of the maintenance.
With the facility, we work closely with the Public Works Department, our facilities maintenance staff, and they certainly evaluate the building on a regular basis, and we currently haven't identified any maintenance issues that need to be addressed. And also with the YWCA, in past years, they have also, when they're able, secure funding to make improvements in the interior in terms of bringing, for example, restrooms to ADA, improvements and so forth. So we're certainly always aware of that facility and working diligently to address anything that we anticipate that needs to be addressed.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Can we move to roll call?
Bielicic?
Yes.
Kaufman-Gomez?
Yes.
Dodge?
Yes.
Hurst?
Yes.
Montesino?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, can I request, because I know we have some young kids in the audience, and they need to go to school tomorrow, if we can move item 6.0, public hearing and ordinances. I know the adults can wait a while, but the young kids have to go to school tomorrow, just for their consideration.
That's moving
6.1 up from the reports and presentations.
Okay, so we'll move item, wait, is that 6.0?
6.1 is the item.
6.1 is the item. Over in front to, well, in front of presentation, just move them around.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, now we have public hearing, ordinance, and appeals. So now the next item is, I'm kind of confused with the numbers. It should be 7.1, isn't it? But anyways, reconsideration of ordinance amending Chapter 37, smoking controls of Title 5, Public Welfare, Morals and Conduct of Watsonville Municipal Code to amend definition of smoking, recommended by Chief Manny Solano. Can we have a staff report on it?
Are we going to vote on moving it?
No.
No?
You don't have to vote. The mayor can move an item around, and if the council objects, they can override him if there's a motion and a second to object to the move, but otherwise the mayor can move items.
My concern is that this should be a quick consent item. We already discussed it at the last meeting, correct? And now we're going to go through a whole staff report again. And we have Pajaro Valley Water Management here as a guest also to do a report.
It should be very quick. They're just going to explain the change, and we're not going to go through the whole presentation again. So
Okay.
it should be very quick.
All right.
That's what they said about McDonald's.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Buenas noches. Jorge Zamora with the Police Department, and I'm here with my partner.
Hi, I'm Andrea Silva Solano with the Santa Cruz County Health Services Agency.
I promise to make this really quick. So when we first presented this, I think on October 28th, we had a certain definition of what smoke and smoking was. And that same evening, Andrea Solano received an email from the experts in the field that gave us a new definition. So that's why we are bringing this back. And instead of me trying to explain the differences, I think my partner here can explain that a little bit more eloquently than I can. But you'll see that there is some verbiage in there that's much more improved and helps us in the enforcement.
So, yeah, we received improved definition language for smoking and smoke, and also an electronic smoking device. And the revisions to the definitions are consistent with what's happening nationally among tobacco control researchers, experts, advocates, and reflect the fast-growing electronic cigarette industry. So the main difference that I'd like to point out is that the new definition that is on the screen, it's also in the staff report, to smoke and smoking really makes it explicit that this applies to all types of e-cigarettes. So the previous definition, there was some ambiguity around the types of e-cigarettes that were prohibited. And that's what we found was happening nationally, that there were some loopholes around the ones that did not contain nicotine. So folks were getting around the changes to the smoke-free ordinances by saying that the product didn't contain nicotine. So what we've learned is that it's really hard to tell whether, at first glance, if a device has nicotine or not, or maybe another substance. So that's part of the reason why the state tobacco legal experts, American Lung, American Cancer, American Heart Society got together to create improved definitions to eliminate those loopholes. So that's the main difference, that it makes it very clear that all e-cigarettes are prohibited. And also the definition of electronic smoking device includes a product that produces an aerosol or a vapor, which wasn't in the previous definition. So the sentiment behind the original proposal, it's the same. These products should still, the reasons for why these products should be included in the smoke-free ordinance are the same. We just got improved language that we felt worthy, that was worthy of coming back, so that the city of Watsonville has the most up-to-date definitions.
So the updated definition that we're presenting today is smoke or smoking means inhaling, exhaling, burning or carrying any lighted or heated cigar, cigarette or pipe, or any other lighted or heated tobacco or plant product intended for inhalation, including hookahs and marijuana, whether natural or synthetic, in any manner or form. Smoking also includes the use of electronic smoking device, which creates aerosol or vapor in any manner, in any form. And we really wanted to capture the electronic smoking device definition, which means any electronic device, the use of which may resemble smoking, which can be used to deliver an inhaled dose of nicotine or any other substances to the user. Electronic smoking device includes any such electronic smoking device, whether manufactured, distributed, marketed, or sold as an electronic cigarette, an electronic cigar, an electronic cigarillo, an electronic pipe, an electronic hookah, or any other product name or descriptor. So you can see it really captures a lot with it's rather than just saying e-cigarette, it really gives an elaborate definition of what that is. And that's it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any questions from the council? Councilmember Tina Kaufman-Gomez?
The first question is, do we need to run this ordinance again since the language has changed from the first ordinance? So that would be probably more of a logistic question.
Yes, it is being advertised again, and this is a public hearing, so it's been completely redone.
And then my second question is, it said lighted or something else on the definition. Do all of them have either the light or the other? I think it's, there you go.
It's the last sentence, I think.
The previous page, where it says lighted or heated tobacco, are they all lit or not lit? I mean, I don't know the significance of light. When I've seen them before, I don't think that there's been a light on them. I mean, I don't want to isolate anything that could be, out of this loophole here somehow.
I think that's just to capture, I'm not exactly sure, but capture any kind of battery so it's lit, it's not necessary.
And what I've seen, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So what I've seen with a lot of these electronic cigarettes is that the end of it actually, when the user is inhaling, there's a light that actually comes on. So I'm not sure if that's what you mean.
I just want to make sure that we don't have a device that doesn't have a light on, but it's still an active device, and it's missing this, or it's not being captured in the definition.
I think heated captures it, and also at the bottom, the electronic device captures all of it.
Right.
Just making sure. Thanks.
Sure, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing there's no other questions, I'll take it to the public. If there's any public input, if there's any members of the public that would like to address us on this item, please do so now. Please state your name and the district you're from.
Good evening, City Council members. My name is Lorena Ramos. I'm a health educator with the County Health Services Agency. And as part of HSA and staff to Tobacco Education Coalition, I want to thank you all for your vote during the last meeting and for taking into consideration the community and the youth that were here to share their experiences with electronic cigarettes, both in their schools and their neighborhoods. Today, they want to come up and they want to say thank you personally. So I'll have them here. Now they're officially Tobacco Education Coalition youth members, and they want to say thank you.
Good night, City Council members. My name is Fernando Lopez, and I am a member of Muévelo and a Tobacco Education Coalition youth member. We want to say thank you for supporting our effort and for helping make Watsonville a smoke and tobacco free community with your vote during the last meeting. We are here to remind you that we will continue to support and the inclusion of vapes in this local law. Thank you.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Andrés Ramírez, soy parte del grupo de Muévelo de la Convención de educación.
¿Y puedes hablar al micrófono?
Queremos darle las gracias por apoyar nuestro esfuerzo, por ayudar con su puesto durante la última reunión de que aquí en Watsonville sea una comunidad libre de humo de tabaco. Estamos aquí para recordarle a que seguimos apoyando en la información de cigarros electrónicos o para que están ley local. Gracias.
My name is Andres Ramirez, and I'm here with the coalition. And we want to thank you for supporting us with your support in the last meeting here in Watsonville with a community free of tobacco. We are here to support with the electronic cigarette with this local law. Thank you.
Good afternoon, City Councils. My name is Gabriel Gonzalez. I'm the president of Muevelo. And today I just came to remind you guys of the vote that you guys decided last time. And I want to let you guys know that we care about the youth, and we, the youth, want better for our futures. And if you guys care about us, then keep doing this, a good decision for all the youth. Thanks.
Good night, City Council. My name is Jesus, and I go to Watsonville High, and I am 14 years old, and I am against the smoking thing because it's really bad for us, and I think that needs to change because not only does it affect them, but it makes us look bad. Like when we see youth smoking, makes us look horrible. So I'm against that. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the council for an appropriate. Councilmember Montesino?
I would move staff recommendation.
I'll second.
We got a Councilmember Montesino moved, and we have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Councilmember Lowell-Hurst.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I want to make it clear to the public that we're not banning the sale of these devices. We're only bringing these devices in under the control of how tobacco or other, the other regulations that we have regarding cigarettes. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So I don't want anybody to be confused about what we're doing here. This is, and we certainly hope this is bulletproof legal-wise as well. We're not outright banning the sale or possession of these electronic devices. We're merely regulating them in the same way that we do cigarettes, cigars, pipes, whatever.
Councilmember Dodge?
Well, I certainly against banning things, whether it be hamburgers or whether it be vapor devices electronically, because I think it's a matter of education and choice, but we've already had that conversation. Anyways, this being said, we have in place permits for people that sell tobacco products. Will our permit process include people that sell electronic smoking devices? I think I asked that question at the last time that this came before us, and I wanted to be able to, because there are some shops that open up as vapor shops that sell solely vaporized devices and other smoking instruments. So they don't even have to sell tobacco products. So did they fall under the regulation of what we currently have as a policy for people that, I forget is it called a tobacco permit? I forgot what the title is, but to be able to have a permit to be able to sell those in the city. Since we're changing policy to modify it to be, as we regulate tobacco products, are we also doing that with the permit process for selling?
As vape shops are considered tobacco retailers, and the city of Watsonville has a tobacco retail licensing ordinance. So under that, retailers that sell e-products.
Well, that's the way we changed. If I may add, the way we changed the definition to be more concise is that if it's not in the definition of what we're charging for tobacco permits, do we have to change that definition also for the
My
permit process?
understanding is the TRL, the tobacco retail licensing ordinance, has updated language. That would be looking at.
Is that true, staff?
I don't.
Pardon? Not that I doubted your sincerity.
I don't think you have to change the permit. You're issued a permit under this ordinance, so I think you're okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Council, did you still have a question? Yes.
Other question?
No. Did you still have a question?
I'm
Other
ready to
question?
go.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. That we're ready for a vote?
Yelisic,
Yes.
Copman Gomez,
Yes.
Dodge,
Yes.
Hurst,
Yes.
Montesino,
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes. Item passes. Next, we have 6.0 reports and presentations. These items have no action required. 6.1, first we have the Paro Valley Water Management Agency presentation regarding the Basin Management Plan. Requested by Councilmember Nancy Bilicic.
Good evening, Council. I just wanted to introduce Mary Bannister, who's the General Manager of Pajaro Valley Water Management Agency, and Dave Kavanaugh, who's the Vice Chair of the Board of the agency. So they're here to give you a presentation on recent activities with the Basin Management Plan and what the farmers are up to. All right, thank you.
Well, up to with water, of course. City Council members and staff, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here to talk about the world of local water. I'm going to be giving an overview, and Mary's going to be actually doing more detailed presentation. In the water-strained areas of the West, conservation has long been heralded as the smartest, most efficacious way to manage water. Luckily, under the careful guidance of the PVWMA working in concert with community leaders, we are way ahead of the game. With the passage of the recent Sustainable Groundwater Act, Management Act, I should say, our valley is well positioned to meet the criteria outlined within that document, a fact that puts us way ahead of most water basins within the state. With the Basin Management Plan approved by the PVWMA Board, we are on our way to turning around our overdraft and halting saltwater intrusion. Within that document, conservation makes up 41% of our solution. In a recent competition, local farmers reached almost half of that goal. Farming uses approximately 82% of the water in the valley and subsequently pays for 82% of the solution. While it is the second smallest ag county, Santa Cruz County has managed to rank as 17 out of 50 counties in FarmGate. In addition to the 140 families that on average are fed from the production of an acre of land, we also produce an astounding amount of food for second harvest use. Ag is a big employer as well. Recent estimates set the ag labor force around 11,500, which does not include ag-related support businesses. Ag is both important to our valley and the millions of people that depend on its food to sustain them. Our neighbors to the north, Soquel, Aptos, and Santa Cruz aren't as fortunate as we. Their city leaders have decided on effectively two choices to ensure that water continues to flow from their customers' faucets: either conservation/extreme conservation or desalinization. Desal water is extraordinarily expensive and has the carbon footprint of a dinosaur, unfortunately. Agriculture cannot survive on those costs created by building these high-tech engineering facilities and must create and be adaptive in finding solutions. In the Pajaro Basin, the Pajaro Valley Water Management Agency has quite a few cards to play. The recent Basin Management Plan process identified a 7-part solution that applies science and common sense, with conservation and the use of recycled water being at the top of the list. 29 years ago, when the PVWMA was formed, there was talk of conservation. However, until now, there has not been a concerted effort to understand and apply its science. With federal, state, and local entities, state-of-the-art irrigation technology, and a data-backed effort by the PVWMA, the fuzzy world of ag water conservation is coming into focus. With Aaron McCarthy of the Central Coast Agricultural Water Quality Coalition, we have taken a big step in understanding the mindset of farmers and how they farm. This allows us the opportunity to help them discover new ways to save. We are now using more recycled water than ever before, and more farmers are asking for it. The drought has helped us focus our efforts and has brought home to many in the valley the need to be water conscious. The PVWMA has sponsored drought fairs, competitions, and issued publications to bring home the message of conserving water. As the Resource Conservation District, the NRCS, Ag Extension, and the Central Coast Agricultural Water Quality Coalition have scrutinized crops, climate, and soils and offered solutions. There have been some amazing results. One of our largest crops, strawberries, was regarded as a major water user. As early as 3 years ago, they were thought to use upwards of 3+ acre-feet per acre. In layman's terms, that's just short of 1 million gallons per acre. Through a closer look at crop requirements by UC Davis and a commitment to reduce water use, local companies have done something miraculous. Water use has been fine-tuned to as low as 1.67 acre-feet per acre. The PVWMA water use records show this quick turnaround. This cooperation between forward-looking farmers, combined with state-of-the-art science offered from ag scientists, gives us the tools to roll back the amount of water used in farming. On the creative side, the Community Water Dialogue, a stakeholders group committed to solutions, has transitioned into a group that will include further outreach and input into sustaining our water supply. This group of interested citizens has been fundamental in soliciting, debating, and promoting solutions. It is an exciting time for me. I had the opportunity to chair the Basin Management Plan Committee and also recently the Ad Hoc Funding Committee. And now it's time to take the 18 months that produced the Basin Management Plan and turn it into a working solution. There's a lot to do yet, and looking at a fair, legal, and community-supported process to apply the solution to our Treasure Valley will be a welcome challenge. The good news is that there are more farmers, operators, and citizens aware of the need to conserve than ever before. The PVWMA is here to build on it and secure this valley's incredible potential to produce food, commodities, and jobs for years to come. And I'm going to turn it over to Mary so she can give you more details on what I've said. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. And thank you, Council and Mayor Pro Tem Hernandez and staff for inviting us tonight. I've appeared before a few of you before, and and I see you at all these great events around the valley, so it's good to be here in this capacity. Although on that front page it does say I'm the general manger, and I know Christmas is coming, but somehow I don't know. Anyway. And I did that slide. I have only myself to blame. Tonight I'm going to talk briefly about our basin management plan update, about the grants that we've been so successful in getting of late, and our basin management planning, our next rates increase, which we've been working hard toward to implement the basin management plan, and then some other of the great efforts that we've done in collaboration with the City of Watsonville. It's not news to anyone in this room, I don't think, that we're in what we call now an exceptional drought in the Central Coast region. These two maps show February of 2014, right before the governor declared a drought emergency after 3 unprecedented dry years. And then in August 26th of 2014, where probably 2/3 of the state, but interestingly, not the southern part. There's, I guess, warm tropical waters, moisture comes up into the south. It's really our area that's getting hammered the most by this drought. And our area is, by value, probably the biggest agricultural per acre crop value producer in the country. You can see a little bit of that on this map. The gray zone in the center is the city of Watsonville, so that's the urban area, and all of the colorful area around that are the various crops that are being produced in this valley, largely strawberries, caneberries, and vegetables. A few apple orchards still remain, but the important number there at the very top is $900 million a year in ag revenues are generated out of this valley on 28,000 irrigated acres. Most all of that is served by groundwater. Groundwater is what is used to provide that. The City of Watsonville has a small surface water diversion on Corralitos Creek, which I'll talk about in a minute. But the groundwater is the biggest the biggest supply of water for our economy here. This is kind of a complex map, or a table, but it's an important one. There's a couple of stories on this table that I think are of interest. The light blue at the top is the City of Watsonville, the household water use. The dark blue below and the purple combined are the irrigation water use. So you can see in 2005, 2006, we started delivering water. The recycled water facility came on in 2009, so those purple bars start to increase year by year. Interestingly, if you look at, Dave was talking about our goal here of using, achieving 5,000 acre feet of conservation. If you look in years like 2010 and 11, the agricultural users in this valley were using something under 40,000 acre feet of water. But of course, with this drought, which is sort of a game changer, we're up in the 50,000 acre feet realm. The other interesting thing in this map is if you look at 2008, the bars dropping down from the top are rainfall in inches. In 2008, we had something like 14 or 15 inches of rain, and the water use was about 62,000 acre feet. In 2013, we had 3 inches of rain, and the water use was about 60,000 acre feet again. So we think that this is starting to show that the farmers are really achieving some good savings and using the water more efficiently and still maintaining the crop values that they were using, you know, a higher amount of water with a more abundant rainfall. But again, unless this drought subsides and we get back to our normal water patterns here, which, you know, the jury's out on whether that's going to happen or not, we're going to have to really be paying attention. That's our goal. That yellow line that just dropped down is where we need to be. So during normal years, we're not that far off during normal rain years, but with this drought, we're about 10,000 acre feet above where we need to be. And how that manifested in this valley, the red and pink on this map are the areas of groundwater in the fall of these subsequent years, 2011, 12, and 13, that were below sea level. And you've probably heard this enough that in order to repel the seawater from moving in, which is the striped zone to the left of the map, the west, we need to have groundwater levels above sea level. That's what holds the seawater back. So our goal here with our basin management plan is to bring enough supplemental water into the basin and do enough conservation in order to bring all of those pink and red zones up so they're at least at sea level and preferably above. And that's not a 5-year job, that's a 30-year goal. And that's been supported by the state legislation that is giving, planning windows of 10, 20, and 30 years to get these basins into balance. It's not done easily. As you all know, the city's partnered with us on the recycle water facility. That took 10 years of planning plus some to get up and running, but we're now seeing the benefit of having that additional water to supply. And this is what we've done so far. The Pajaro Valley Water Management Agency collects augmentation charges on all water pumped in the basin, and that's the city's 12 wells plus 850 agricultural wells. Everyone pays for every acre foot pumped out of this valley, and that is somewhat unusual in the state. However, the new groundwater legislation signed into law last month requires that every basin in the state now has to do a similar structure as we have here in the Pajaro Valley. For once, we're ahead of the pack, other than in lawsuits. This time we're ahead of the pack in having meters on our wells. Not very many other ag wells are required to be metered, have been up till now. That's all going to change with this new legislation. Excuse me. So what's shown on this map, the pink is the seawater intruded zone, the purple is the delivered water zone, and the dark purple lines are the pipeline that we've constructed over the last 14 years in order to deliver blended recycled water to the coastal farmers. And that, again, helps repel the seawater intrusion and gives us the biggest bang for the buck basin-wide. We can pump a little harder inland if we've stopped the seawater at the coast. So it creates more or less a boundary in the coastal zone. And the key project on that pipeline is the recycled water facility, which I hope you've all toured, and if you haven't, we'll get you down there in the city, and we jointly do lots of tours of that project. It's a state-of-the-art project. We were able to build it because this City of Watsonville City Council had the guts to back us when we were facing bankruptcy, frankly, and you all stuck your necks out to do the right thing here, and we've survived, and we're paying that money back, and we remember it every day that you all worked with us as partners to get that project constructed. Had that not been constructed, I don't know, we'd probably be in a groundwater adjudication here at this point. We have been really successful in getting grant funding, and we've done a lot of that jointly with the city in terms of getting a title. Well, the city actually got that Title 16 grant in the middle bar of $20 million from the Bureau of Reclamation toward that recycle water facility. We've gotten Prop 84, Prop 50, and Prop 13 funding that help pay for the pipeline, help partly pay for the recycle facility, and some of this newer money has come in to help the city do some of its projects moving forward. We are, on the most recent grant application, the lead in the IRWM. It's the regional planning group, but the city is a partner with us along with Santa Clara Valley Water District and San Benito County Water District in terms of being the representatives of the Pajaro River watershed that comes from about south of Morgan Hill and San Benito County through our valley. Our most recent grant award was a $6 million grant. That includes about $1 million for some new storage tanks at the recycle water facility, some blend well pipeline upgrades, and another chunk of pipeline for us. And an important one that wasn't even mentioned in the our basin management plan update is the Corralitos Creek diversion upgrade. You all have a project that's been shovel ready for a number of years waiting for funding, and we got $3 million toward constructing that project. And the beauty of that project is it's surface water, so it relieves pumping on our groundwater basin. It's surface water, which means you don't have to do the Chrome 6 treatment on that water. And it adds about 1,000 acre feet roughly of new water supply to the basin. So it's a win-win for us. We're thrilled to have that get constructed, and we know it helps the city as well. So we're really excited about that. We just, in fact, tomorrow I have to send the yes, we'll accept your grant for $6 million email to the state, and we were just notified of that recently, so we'll get going on those projects right away. Our basin management plan, we had both for our basin management plan and our rates effort recently, we convened giant stakeholder committees. We started with maybe 11, and then the farmers wanted a couple more, and then the city wanted a couple more representatives of the urban area, then the mutuals, and back and forth. And we went from committee sizes of about 11 to upwards of 20 and 24. I've told this story a lot, but I think it's funny, so I tell it over and over again. I went after they determined the size was going to be 24 members. I went back to the office just holding my head and Googled ideal committee size because I knew it wasn't 24. And the first thing that came up was ideal committee size equals 0. And then the one below it was 11. 11 people. Don't ever have a committee with more than 11 people. It's doomed to fail. And actually, we had the reverse happen. These committees, and you'll see a list of some of the names, but you know a lot of them. Steve Palmisano's been very active. Jackie McLeod more recently from city staff. Just a whole group of very diverse stakeholders. But as you all know, we've struggled in the past to try and get public buy-in, and a big problem with that is we didn't reach out and get everybody's opinion, get everybody in the room, and see if we can't find some common ground. And so we've worked hard at doing that. Each of these committees have had what I call BIS hours, over 1,500 BIS hours, and that's bottom in seat hours. Butts in the chair, BIC is the other one. It's people who came and sat for these meetings once a month, 2 to 3 hours long, and we had 90% attendance. It was remarkable. Here's the basin management plan. So it's a number of our directors, representatives of, for instance, Sea Mist Farms, Driscoll's Berries, John Martinelli was on the committee, Chuck Allen, who I know you all know, Aromas Water District, someone from Soquel Creek Water District, an environmental person or two. And again, they came together and really rolled up their sleeves. It was really a great process. Out of the basin management plan update work, 3 primary components were identified. The biggest, well, the most significant we think is the conservation, which is the green pie chunk on the right, and 5,000 acre feet of conservation annually is our goal, and we're committing, the board has committed in our new rates $250,000 a year for $200,000 a year for 5 years, so $1 million in 5 years toward achieving that effort. Our board also, after the drought emergency, committed $100,000 this current fiscal year. And in this last grant award, there's $250,000. So I don't know what all those numbers add up to. Something like $1.5 million over 5 years is going to be spent toward achieving these conservation goals. The other parts of the project is a College Lake project. We've heard time and again that College Lake water gets dumped out to the river, goes out to the ocean. Why not capture that and maybe combine it as part of the flood work that the city's been real involved with? So 2,000 acre feet from College Lake, and then some other supplies, tankage at the recycle water facility and another recharge basin. And then optimizing the use of existing water supplies. For instance, the recycled water is mostly available during the day when everyone's flushing, right? And at night, it kind of dribbles in, but they're able to make recycled water, don't have a lot of demand out in the fields for it. And so with new storage and other optimization, we're trying to figure out ways to make more recycled water to increase that. We were kind of slammed this year. It's kind of interesting. the recycled water plant went to half capacity for almost a month during prime irrigation time, not because of anything we did, but because of the giant squid. You know, all the squid that were here, the whales, yay, that was great for the squid processors, but where does the squid ink end up when it's being processed? In the sanitary sewer, and it went through our plant and basically gummed up the works. So we've got challenges like that are ongoing, and honestly, you'd think you've got it whipped and then something else, then the squid come in. Hopefully no squid next year. So I talked a little bit about conservation. I won't belabor that, but we do have some experts, as Dave mentioned, who are doing outreach to the growers. We have toolkits available online, and we have different groups working with us to identify technologies that are really state-of-the-art that help measure moisture as it goes through the soil profile so that when the water gets below the root, they stop watering. They've never done that before except kind of by experience, and now we're doing it based on real science, and we're seeing, as Dave mentioned, you know, maybe 20% savings in water use. And so we continue to collaborate with our partners who are the Central Coast Ag Water Coalition, and that's a nonprofit, the Natural Resources Conservation District, Resource Conservation District of Santa Cruz County, and others. And we do a lot of work with the UC campuses and Davis especially. We had a celebration last week, and as Dave mentioned, 2,000 acre-feet were saved between the third quarter of last year and the third quarter of this year. From June till September, we identified 50 growers who saved 2,000 acre-feet of water. So that's a third of the water that the city uses in a year. We were able to achieve that savings, and we awarded those guys and women for doing that. And I have to say, they were really honored. They really feel like they're a little bit embattled trying to grow a product and do the best farming they can do, but yet clearly they're water users. But the story was picked up by the Sentinel and Register Pajaronian, and again, we continue to get a lot of news buzz, especially this year with the drought. In fact, NPR picked up our story and ran it nationally several times. I was delighted to hear Councilman Hurst bragging about our recycle facility on national NPR news about less than a week ago. It was early this week, and it's just amazing. And I think we really do have a story to tell here. The other thing that we've partnered more and more, the city certainly is the leader. We're not trying to take, probably should put our name second on that, but the city's been doing tours for years of the secondary treatment plant and the tertiary treatment plant, and now we've got a couple staff members that go out weekly or biweekly and help with these tours. We do our own. There are people who come to us wanting to see how, you know, recycled water is used in ag environment, but there are a lot of people. Cabrillo College has, I have a friend who teaches there, and Brian Lockwood, who I meant to introduce, who's our hydrologist sitting in the audience. Brian and some of the other staff have helped do tours. We see 1,300 to 1,500 people a year. Again, mostly the city is in charge of that, but we support that. And the other thing is our staff helps the recycled facility operators with their maintenance down there, and we have a very good working relationship with the city staff down there. And it's not easy. I mean, we're all overworked. We're all working long hours, and the operations guys get calls in the middle of the night. It's not easy, but we continue to communicate well and try to, you know, keep our eye on the prize, which is getting that delivered water out. We've recently done, this is our other committee. It was 17 members, similar composition to the BMP committee. And we met again for 18 months and came up with a set of recommendations for our board. The two big ones is that the board wants to try and utilize a debt and bonding and grants to fund our various projects. Right now, one of our goals is to help reduce the debt that we owe to the city of Watsonville. So we're now in a place where we can incur our own bonding debt. So we're going to try and get the city debt paid down. And the other big item is number 4 is, what do you use for a planning horizon moving forward? We used 5 years average, 2009 to 2013, which is about 55,000 acre feet a year. So any savings or any new projects are going to be against that 55,000 acre feet. If our new norm is 62,000 acre feet, then we're going to have to, take another look at those numbers. We'll do a reset. But we've got a year or two. Again, these are 5 and 10 year planning horizons, so we have some time to figure that out. These are just to give you an idea of what the rates are now. For comparison, 5 years ago, the farmers in the valley were paying $80 an acre foot for water pumped out of their wells. We were successful with a rates increase in 2010 that brought it up to about 170, so doubled the rate they were paying at that time. And by 2020, we're looking at 243 for augmentation charge, pumped groundwater fees for water pumped out of wells outside of that purple zone that was on the earlier map. The delivered water, which is the blended purple pipe recycled water, will be up to $380 an acre foot. It's pretty high cost water, but I personally think water's been undervalued in California for a long, long time. So it's tough, but I think it's reasonable. Again, 2014, it's going to be historical. These kids that all of you have that are 28, their kids are going to be really shocked and talk about 2014 because groundwater law in California changed in a dramatic way. And I'm proud personally that standing up there next to Ed Brown, second from the left, is Miles Ryder, the president of Driscoll's. And he broke ranks with Farm Bureau and the ag industry in California and supported this groundwater legislation because he said for years that we've been pumping this valley too hard. And he's been a real leader in helping put these groups together that are helping us find solutions, as Dave mentioned. And in the next 20 years, we hope to be there. Proposition 1 will help us get there. It's what did it end up? 6.2 billion, I think. I think the final number was $6.2 billion. I think it'll be about a year before the funding rolls out, but I think there's going to be a lot of funding in that proposition, both to help the city with the Chrome 6 and to help all of us with more of these projects and getting the job done in California. Our early out projects that we're starting on right away are the tanks at the recycle facility, the blend well enhancement, and that city Corlitas Creek filter plant upgrade, and then this $250,000 for the drought program that I mentioned, conservation program that I mentioned earlier. So we're also really pleased that's because of this drought emergency funding, projects that we identified in the basin management plan that were anticipated to begin implementation next year, we're already doing it. The money's going to come in. We're getting plans and specs done and the design finalized, so we're going to go out to bid probably in April, almost a year ahead of plan. So that's all I had, and Dave and I are welcome any questions or comments. I do want to mention also that the City of Watsonville appoints one of our directors, and that's our chair, Rosemary Amazio. She would be here tonight, but she's getting a new hip. She's been incapacitated with a bad hip. So, but that is your appointment to our board, and she's the longest sitting board member that we have right now, and she's a wealth of knowledge and grit, I have to say, to have been doing that so long. So thank you very much.
Wow, thank you very much for the great presentation. Any questions from council? Councilmember Trina Kaufman-Gomez?
The slide you have between the purple and the blue, and it tells you about the rainfall.
I know the one.
Good. Now, when we're going into the purple is a recycle of the light blue. Would that be correct? Because the light blue is the
city. That's the city water use, yeah.
So the city water usage is what's getting down there to the station and then getting recycled, or what?
No, the city water. The blue shown there is just what you flush the toilet in your tap water.
But if we flush the toilet in the tap and it goes down, doesn't that get part of the recycle?
It is the recycle.
So then that means the light blue ends up going into the purple mode. So
true, yeah. Good point. Yeah.
What would be our capacity with the extra storage to bring more of that light blue into the purple? Because
This year we'll probably deliver 5,000 acre feet of blended recycled water. Our goal is to get up, and that includes about 3,500 feet of recycled alone. So there is a blend component, and we want to get to 4,000 acre feet of recycled. That's our goal. So we're getting close to that goal. And I'm not going to make my kegger joke, but drink more beer. Conservation impacts. The city does good conservation. The city water use has been generally flat. Steve can speak to that for, I think, the past 10 years, even though the city has grown. And that does impact us because when this project was designed 10 years ago, we anticipated city water use to increase. So there's more capacity in the plant than there is effluent coming in.
You mentioned the city debt balance. What have we got for the city debt balance, and what is your goal for payoff?
The bond that we are paying against that the city floated in 2009 was around $25 million. We've gotten almost all of that, $20 million, in Title 16. Some of that paid down the balance. Some of the debt that we had with the city was bond funded. $6 or $8 million was cash funded by the city. So that all that cash funded has been paid down. The current bond amount is about $25 million. I believe there's $2 million that's held in a reserve by the city as a requirement of the bond. And then we have what's going to end up being, I think, about $12 million in the payments we've received on Title 16. And that maybe go up to $14 million. And that bond can be refinanced in 2017. So we're getting, in a year or two, we'll be at a point where we'll take another look at the balances on both sides. The city is holding our payments on the Title 16 funds that we get, the grant funds that we get from Title 16. The city holds in an escrow account for us, collecting interest to be paid against that bond when it's time for that to be refinanced.
Thank you.
Councilmember Holers?
I'm looking forward to the day when the bond salesmen leave me alone. You know, they're always pestering us to try and refinance the projects. I think it is remarkable that we do have this partnership. You know, I know that sometimes the city feels like it's the lightning rod of legal suits, and I know that you folks have had a number of very challenging days in court as well. For us to hold everything together and provide the kind of water resources and stewardship that we have, I think is phenomenal. You remember what Mark Twain allegedly said. There's no press here tonight. He said, whiskey is for drinking and water is for fighting over. And he wasn't far wrong with that either, because there's been a lot of legal challenges to your work as well as the city's partnership too, and somehow we've survived all that. We've actually done meaningful projects together. We've gone out and sought funding together. I think that we're really lucky to keep seawater intrusion at bay at best, and to kind of hold back. And all you have to do is ask those folks out in Sunset Beach or La Selva or Pajaro Dunes or the Springfield track, and they'll tell you they don't want that salty water coming through their pipes. And no agriculturalist wants to have that either. And so I feel fortunate to, have had my career in ag education and watch the progress of the partnership here for almost 3 decades, certainly 2 and change. And we're just really lucky to weather all those terrible storms and look forward to more rainfall in the future and try and navigate this very complex issue with lots of competing stakeholders and different views on everything from rates to taxation to whose water is it and where's it going to go. So thank you so much for your work and your presentation here this evening. I I'm always impressed to look at the long-term success and gains that we've had. There's a lot of little ups and downs along the way, but we've made lots of great it's called progress. That's what
There you
it's
go.
called. And we have made progress.
Project
Thank you.
Progress, yeah. Well, to that point, you know, conservation was actually challenged in the past augmentation charge, and we finally got a decision from the appellate court, which the Supreme Court approved as well, to allow us to actually include conservation funding. So we finally have an opportunity to put money into conservation for the first time legally, which is a great thing. And those battles have been hard and difficult, and they've held us back. 29 years ago was when this all started, and it's been a major challenge for everybody, for sure. But I too appreciate the city, the partnership that we have with the city. It's been invaluable. As Mary said, we wouldn't be here today as an agency if it wasn't for the city stepping up to the plate way back when. So thank you so much.
Councilmember Nancy Bilasich.
Okay, I'm going to try the other side here a little bit. I think that what the water agency has done and the city is great collaboration, but we also have the best farming, we have the produce, but as Councilmember Hurst said, you know, fighting over water could happen someday. And what I see from the residents is they don't use very much water overall. They use about 15% of the water, and now they're on a reduction plan, conservation. Thank goodness we don't have the water police around here, but and I think the residents are trying very hard. But the farmers, what do you do if you have a farmer who doesn't conserve, who says, you know, hey, this is my water. I'm not gonna do it. I don't. You know, I want to use my water. I need to take care of my crops. What do you do?
That's an important legal question. And if you saw what the governor had to tiptoe around when it came to overlying water rights, they decided to take that out of the bill at the last moment, so they didn't have to deal with it. But it's one of those tricky areas in the valley that a lot of people feel that the water under their property is theirs. And we've always been nervous as an agency about pushing too hard because it could trigger adjudication, then we're all losers. So it's a very difficult situation or thing to deal with, I should say. We really have to use leadership and show people better ways, better ideas, and encourage them to participate in conservation and doing better farming practices. So that's really what our push has been.
How do you monitor farms? Like I hear people say, well, I just went down X road and the sprinklers were going all over the road.
Right.
You know, and I'm sure, you know, the concept is that, well, there's wasted water. Right. What do you do if you see, not a violation, I mean, it's their water, but what do you do to encourage, or how do you work with them if you see water waste?
We do send letters. We get calls, especially now, especially this year. We get calls, I'd say, not so much last month, but prior to that, we were getting a call every other week at least, and some people really enraged, kind of what you're talking about. Here I am, my lawn's dry and what have you, and neighbor Farmer Brown's just got water running down the ditch. We send them a letter. Usually I call them first. Usually I get on the phone with them. One of them was Javier, one of our directors. Whoops. But he had a broken pipe, because sometimes it is that. There's a problem on the site. Usually we give them a call, then we write them a letter. And there is, in the drought legislation, there is a provision to fine water wasters. In California, it's always been illegal to waste water. It can be used reasonably. But usually by the time that we've done those first two steps, it stops. I have been notified of a place down on San Juan Road in that really sandy area that erodes so much. And we're going to send some of these folks out to talk, meet with them, and start to meet with these people now. That's the next step. Is we offer financial assistance to farmers to do these new irrigation technologies and what have you, and trainings and so forth. But we're we're going to have to get more aggressive with that and start identifying the places. And we have meters on every well. So we know what people used this year, we know what they used last year for quarter by quarter, and that's how we identified those water savers. And now we're going to have to start paying attention and providing outreach. We haven't, the board has not made a decision yet to try and implement any kind of,
sanctions or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if this drought continues, I think all bets are off. We're going to have to start looking at every option. But right now, we don't think we're there yet. And we think that we've got enough ag support to implement these projects and pay for these projects that will get the solution that way, project direction. But water wasting is not okay, and we do address that.
I think the agency has done a remarkable job. But I also hear from residents, how about us? What about us? We've cut back and we've cut back and we've cut back, and just like what you just addressed. So it's really nice to hear, and for the public to hear, that you are addressing overwater usage on the farms. I mean, everybody knows this is ag producing country, and we need water to do it. But I know the residents are starting to feel a little bit, they're under stress too, because they don't want to overuse water. We all are. But I have to thank the city because they made recommendations, but they don't have the water police yet, and that's a good thing because, again, the residents only use about 15% of the water. And working together is really important. So I appreciate your report, and I think you've done a lot. And desal, you don't think we'll need that at some point?
Well, if we never got water again, yes, we would need it. It's extraordinarily expensive. As part of our solution, there's potential for using it as a blend source. But farming has a critical limit and the perceived value of food in the marketplace where people just won't tolerate it. So we're kind of farming is kind of under the screws to keep it down as low as possible. But it's not off the table. It's one of those solutions that's way out there. We left it in the overall solution if we have to look at it, but it's quite a ways down the road. Personally, as a farmer, I think that we can meet a lot of our goal through conservation. I think it's just a matter, and again, we've only recently had the funding to really get out and look closely at what's going on. And most people, like in the city, are willing to do the right thing. They want to do it. They just need someone to help them go down that road. When we get to that place where we can identify those people that are doing something positive, we will also have a clear picture of those that aren't. And we'll develop some sort of process to deal with them as well, first encouraging them and then possibly later doing something else. But it's a workable solution. It's just that we've never had the detail in conservation that we have had recently, and we're going to be expanding on that with all the help that we're having from all the different organizations. So we're optimistic about it.
I don't think we've ever had to really address it. Water is water. We've always had plenty, and we've used it, and conservation wasn't a big deal. But it is now. Do you find that certain crops that use more water, is there any talk about changing those crops and going into other types of crops?
Well, interestingly, what's happening is there's been a lot more research on crops and what their salt tolerances what the salt tolerance of those crops will be. And as a consequence, with strawberries, we were able to actually use less blend water, which means more water coming out of the basin to blend with the recycled water, because we found that the strawberries could actually tolerate a little more salt than we had thought. So there's other solutions out there as well. It's a matter of science, taking a look at those particular crops and seeing whether we can actually make sense out of raising them here. But it's up to the grower at the final analysis. What crop they raise. We can't, as an agency, we really can't mandate that. But certainly there's a lot of science going into understanding water needs of those crops. So again, we're going in the right direction.
Well, we have great climate here
Absolutely.
for the berries, and yet we used to have apples, lots of apples,
Right.
and berries became more lucrative, but at the same time use more water.
Right.
And the desal thing, I often wonder if it wouldn't be like Watsonville or us or you or whatever, but a combination, Santa Cruz, Capitola, Monterey, the whole peninsula got together for a desal plant somewhere, but that, like you said, is in the future. I appreciate all your work and your clarification about water, because I know the residents are concerned. And I think you've given a good explanation this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Dodge?
Thank you very much for that presentation. And I really want to thank
Mary.
I forgot Mary's title, though. It's general manager.
Manger.
No, Manger. General Manger.
Mary. Thank you very much, Mary, for recognizing the city's recycling efforts. I think that's important to note when you always hear about the growing numbers inside the city, but the water level has remained the same for many, many years, and I think it's kind of a reflection of the lifestyle of the city's residents. And I think it's important to acknowledge that. Just as I look forward to what you were talking about, partnerships or potential partnerships for College Lake and the Corralitos project. I think particularly the Corralitos project, College Lake is really interesting in the dynamic that really could happen out there. But the Corralitos project, because that whole area has been, we talk always about flood protection, and we talk about thinking down here with the river, but the Corralitos Creek is way out of control for many, many years, and the potential for disaster there is, I believe, is actually greater. So I thank you for acknowledging that. But what I really wanted to say is that Mary Bannister is really one of the unsung heroes of the community, and you've been invaluable for the quality of life for everybody in this valley for many, many years. And I want to just take a moment and recognize that the way you've been able to walk through fire and on an everyday basis, and that's without even dealing with people like me, but it's really, you're really accomplished a lot, and it's reflecting in these statistics in this presentation. So thank you for coming this evening and addressing us in that manner.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you. Can I see the slide that has the water conservation toolkits, or the conservation is key component for solving the basin's problems? So that image right there, are those the soil moisture sensors?
That's actually our CIMAS station, and it's a station that collects weather data and transfers it to the farmers so they know what the humidity is and the heat and what the plant is going to require to uptake in water during a certain climate, kind of moment by moment. So it's a weather station. But there are, you're right, Mayor Pro Tem, there are radio what do you call them?
Well, they're
Remote
towers.
sensors.
The wireless, it's called WIN, yeah. Wireless irrigation network. Go ahead, Mary.
Yeah. So there are Driscoll's mainly, but others have supported it, have put a series of radio towers around the valley that will pick up the soil moisture probe information and relay it to the irrigators out in the field now, as you probably all know, are very sophisticated. They have their smartphones and their tablets and what have you, and they can pick up this information, turn sprinklers and drip irrigation on and off based on actual real-time reading of the penetration of the moisture through the soil profile. And we have those all over the valley. The agency's bought 10 of those to give to the RCD for a loaner program, so people who are interested in adopting this new technology but don't want to make the big financial commitment without trying it can test it for several months. So yeah, that's...
What percentage of the farmers use that technology?
Well, Driscoll's, I think, might be something under half of the berry growers in the valley And I think all of them are using it. So that might be a third of the total.
Well, I think what happens is the other farmers who are in competition with other farmers see that they're using state-of-the-art technology and using less water, input costs, are motivated to use these systems as well. We're seeing that happen throughout the valley. So more and more people are using, and again, it's that outreach that we need to do through the conservation funding that's going to address that issue with those people. So a lot of people that are not, with the Driscoll Group are doing it as well. And in fact, one of our directors, everything he has is on his cell phone, he irrigate from his cell phone. It's pretty amazing stuff. And that's only happened within, the last 7 years or so. It's pretty amazing what the technology has finally hit the farming business, so.
Oh, and does this technology actually save farmers money in terms of less water use?
Yeah, a lot of people think that drip irrigation is a great tool, and it can be, but just turning it on and leaving it run all day long, you can use a lot more water because you don't see it, a lot more water than overhead irrigation. So it has to be timed, and that, again, there's measurement devices in the soil that tell how far the water has gone down, hopefully not past the root zone, the extent of the root zone, and they can tell where it is so they know when to stop, and they can judge that, by how far it moves, how fast it moves through the soil on their individual farms. So yes, we're seeing that. We're also seeing water quality issues dealt with because those salts, fertilizers are no longer getting carried down even further in some situations down into the water table. So it's a good tool, and it solves water quality as well as saves water. So yeah.
Is there any other kind of carrots that could be created as a region to implement the use of technology more in the region? I mean, 10 units is a great start, to have, around the area. But if we can have more of them, that would be even better, I think,
Well, I mean, the board will, if Mary presented it to us and we saw there was a need for farmers to use more, we'd certainly support it. There's no doubt about that. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I have just one more that's really brief. Are any of the farmers just opting not to crop in order to save?
Some already do it naturally, and there's some larger concerns in the valley that have already done it and been doing it for years. There's a lot more talk of it. We're trying to work out the details, what that means exactly, as far as some of them want compensation for putting their land in fallow. We're trying to figure out how we would work that out, and I'll keep it within Prop 218 parameters. So there's talk going on, and there's people that are actually offering to do it. So.
Well, especially in light of a lot of issues that they have with getting enough employment in the fields at certain times, if they were able to pull it out and not have the labor and then not have the water usage as well, evaluating that, I suppose, is going on too with many of the farmers in the community.
Right. No, absolutely. And there's been a lot of self-starters as well when it comes to water conservation and even systems. We've known that some of the farmers have actually been built retention ponds that actually drain, that percolate the water back into the aquifer as well. And there's been a few that have done it privately. There's been a big one, it's the Bassor Durbach, or I'm sorry.
Ocarisa property.
And that was done in cooperation with the property owners in RCS, RCD. And it was amazing how much water was actually allowed to get back into the aquifer just by dealing with it, by channeling it into that area, and taking the sediment out. And we hope to see more of that in the valley as well. But there's a lot of things going on. It's not just a very boring process. There's a lot of people being very creative, and that's one thing we've learned about farmers, me being one as well. I mean, mother is the mother of invention. Yeah, well, I'm trying to think of that. Necessity is a mother of invention, and for a lot of us, we are trying things. On my little 5-acre parcel that I have a nursery on, I've got 2 recycling systems. And it's cost a ton of money, but I'm doing it. But a lot of us are doing things like that. So
it's positive direction. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Is there any public comment on the report? Seeing none, we have a next report regarding the services services provided by the Solid Waste Division to the community.
Thanks, Mary.
Thank you.
Nice job.
All right. Good evening, Council. Mayor Pro Tem Hernandez. I'd like to introduce Gabe Gordo. He's our Solid Waste Division Manager, and we wanted to give you an update and overview of what the Solid Waste Division does, just to inform our council and community about a great variety of services that Gabe and his team provides to our community.
So good evening, Mayor Pro Temp and council members and staff. Steve says I'm Gabe Gordo. I'm the city's Solid Waste Division Manager, and I'm here to speak to you briefly about our operations in solid waste, which covers a lot of services offered in the city. A lot of them before we even wake up. It's all that happens in the shadows of the night. And as you can see here, our front page, you see all these different buttons that I feel I have to be pushing and controlling every day. But basically, the crux of our business is obviously solid waste and recycling collection. So every day you see these colorful trucks, these guys in these bright orange shirts picking up our recyclables, our yard waste, our garbage from our residents. We also have another part of that component is obviously the residences. You see here a typical day. Here's our nice purple vehicle collecting garbage and recycling in this particular neighborhood. We also have commercial recycling, which is a very important facet and supports the economic viability of our businesses here. As you can see here in this shot here on the bottom, this is a commercial vehicle servicing a cardboard container at, I believe it's Zambrano's packaging, and cardboard is one of the biggest commodity for us. It's a big recycler. It's a big recycling in the industry. Cardboard is one of the highest priced commodities, and we do a very good job of collecting it. And it's an important part of our revenue stream also. And then another part, big important part, is the services we offer to our contractors and to our remodelers and some of the larger businesses in town with large debris boxes like you see here on the bottom right. So another important and very extremely very serious service that we provide that's become even more important over the last few years is street sweeping. And as you can see from this picture here, it happens at night. We start very early in the morning. We get out there, and we want to get out there before there's vehicles on the road, before there's people, so we can do a good job of keeping this town clean, which is really hard. Watsonville is very high density. There's a lot of vehicles on the road. There's some areas that have parking restrictions, some areas that don't. There's areas that have wide streets or streets that don't have curbs. So it's a very difficult thing to balance, but staff work really hard to try to do the best job possible every day. And this is what we want to see. You know, after our sweeper passes, we want to see these nice, clean streets, something that we take a lot of pride in. I know when I drive through town and I see some debris and litter, I get upset, actually. And there's some major thoroughfares that we need to do a much better job on. And we want to expand those programs. But just as an example of the work that we do here, this is a snapshot of the tonnages from our sweeper from August of 2013 to July of 2014. So we're obviously removing a lot of litter and debris from our city. And you can see it's very dramatic, and it fluctuates throughout the year. And we want to increase that. We want to make sure we do more. Here is an example of our scheduling. As you can see, that our sweeper typically follows our recycling vehicle. So, and most of the city residences are either in the blue or in a red route. And you can see in this map, you see the red areas, the blue areas. These are mostly residents, and they could get swept every other week. There's a section here down in the middle in gold or yellow, which is Main Street, and we sweep Main Street every day, and some of the little streets on the side, just to make sure we capture and we keep downtown clean. One of the areas that we want to expand and we have plans for expansion is this green area. And if you notice this green area, we've got areas like Airport Boulevard on the north, we have Green Valley, we have parts of Maine, we have Walker and Harkin Slough Road, Ohlone Parkway, and West Beach. These areas are typically not swept on a very regular basis because, like I said earlier, our sweeper follows our recycling truck, and there's very little residential services on those roads that I mentioned. And one of the things that we want to focus on and that staff looked at is how can we strategically place assets to keep this town clean? Well, we're going to look where we have the biggest bang for our buck, right? So we identify these areas as very high litter, high traffic, and we need to make sure we have consistent services over those areas. So our expansion, our hopes are expanding our sweeping services into this area in hopes that we can keep the city even cleaner and help, because since they're the major thoroughfares, that's what people see when they come into town or they're passing through town. And so they believe that the town's not being kept up, that it's not being cleaned, and we take a lot of pride in our work. We're really proud. We know, as you see the volumes, that we're collecting a lot of material. Can we do more? Yes. And we want to make sure that we provide those services to the community so it makes it a nice, livable community so people can go out and walk, ride their bikes, walk their dogs, walk with their children in the streets and know that they're going to walk in a safe area that's clean and kept. So that's what we plan in the future. We're working on it. We acquired a second sweeper. We're working on recruitment of staff. And it's also going to be an important part in the future of the city stormwater pollution prevention program. Sweeping is number one there to try to prevent those materials from coming into the storm drains and eventually getting into the river, into the ocean. So we feel we play an important role in that. Another very important part of our program is our Waste and Recycling Center on Harvest Drive, and many of you have visited that facility. It's been in operation since 2000. And the goal of the facility is to divert and recycle as much material. And we do a very good job. And as you can see, here's the staff that normally would greet you there. Here's just a snapshot of someone disposing their, I believe it's yard waste here in this dumpster. We are really proud of the work we do there. We don't not only do garbage and yard waste and plastics recycling, but we also take hazardous materials there, appliances, outdated medicine. So we try to provide a full gamut of service to this community so that these things don't end up either down the drain or in a ditch somewhere, and make our town look unkept and dirty. So. And also, just unofficially, the state has a mandate of 75% diversion by 2020, and we get annual audits by Cal Recycle staff, and in unofficial numbers, we would meet the requirements by just slightly over at 76%, but it's an unofficial. But we're there. We're there today, and it's in great part to the vision that we've had here and the fact that we do things and we put all our thoughts and all our efforts into the goals that are established by the state, and we're meeting them. We work really diligently and really hard, and we're really proud of that. The staff just took a lot of pride when we heard that. Another very important part of our operations is landfill, obviously. It complements our services. As you see here, this is the city's landfill. Just so you kind of get a bearing of the area, this is Buena Vista here. San Andreas is over here on this side. We've been in the landfill business since the early 60s. The landfill has been designated to have 5 phases. Phase 1 and 2 that you see here was closed in 1996. And our current phase 3, was here opened in that same year. We're in the last leg of the useful life of that landfill. We're about 4.5 to maybe 5 years before it fills up to the top. We have additional areas designated for landfilling, which is phase 4 and phase 5, but those are not permitted. So we would have to seek permits from very many boards, the Water Regional Board, the Cal Recycle, the Air Board, the Coastal Commission. So it's going to be an effort to do this, and it's also going to be a great investment in capital. And it's going to be, we're planning efforts. It's a decision that we need to make. There's other alternatives to this, and staff is right now in the works of developing the different options that we'll bring to council and share with you at a later date. One of the things that that happens or that you have to contend with when you operate a landfill is methane, methane is the #1 cause of greenhouse gases. But fortunately here in Watsonville or in Santa Cruz County, we have a partnership with Santa Cruz County, and we pipe our gas over next door, and this is Buena Vista Drive, and the county landfill is south of this plant right here, and we mix our gas and we send it to these turbines that run these engines, and they produce gas that gets sold by this private company to a few cities up in the Bay Area. And we're really proud of that. I mean, that's really innovative. It's good for our area, puts us in the map, and it helps us reduce emissions of greenhouse gases, and we're really proud of that. We're on the forefront on that end. One thing that we're really proud is diversion, and as you can see in this picture, we have residential collection of yard waste now in town. We also collect a lot of yard waste at our drop-off center, and here you see a stockpile. We take that material, we stockpile it at the landfill. Once it gets to a certain size, we have this company that comes in and grinds it and makes it into the very valuable material that gets recycled and reused. And there you go, comes back to earth. Another part of our responsibility, and it's a new program for the solid waste division, is our streets crew. And here you see our streets crew, very happy, very clean, proud of what they do. These gentlemen are in charge of the signage throughout town. They also are responsible for all the curb painting and the striping in town. They're also participate in the special events, make sure we post all the signs, the lane closures. And it's a very small group of people, 4 people, and they're handling this town, and that we try to do a really good job at it every week. That same group is also responsible for the trails and sloughs maintenance. And as you can see, this is a picture, I believe it's looking from Highway 1 east, and you see a beautiful shot of our sloughs. This is from afar, but when you get up and close, we also have to maintain the environment in them. So this is a shot of on your left of the Pajaro River channel, and as you can see, there's a lot of debris and a lot of material that we collect. And once a month, our crew goes out and cleans camps, cleans all the litter and debris from the river. It's our responsibility to make sure we keep the health of the waterways, and we're out there. It's hard work. There's a lot of encampments. Sometimes we tear one down, and by the afternoon, the next day, it's back up, so it's a huge challenge, but staff are very committed to it. They understand our responsibility and that we need to make sure we stay on top of that and make this town livable, like we say. Another important part of it, we have a public relations component to our division, and that's supporting the various special events. Here you see our 2 route supervisors, which I believe this picture is of one of the Fiestas Patrias events, and they're out there coordinating the litter collection, the garbage and recycling collection at the events. Also, like for before we passed the bag ban, we also had booths out there informing the community of the new regulations. We provided bags and provided information regarding the other environmental programs that the city offers. And also, sometimes we participate in the 4th of July parade, putting a float up there, demonstrating our services, showing the community what services are offered by the city. We're very proud of that, and we usually have staff members and their family participate in helping us. Next is the fleet maintenance, and obviously we need to keep our trucks running and our vehicles running. And this is our fleet maintenance crew. Very dedicated, very professional staff. Unfortunately, at the end of the year, we're going to lose their manager, who's retiring after 30+ years. And right now, there are no plans to replace them. So the staff that's staying there is willing to take the new assignments and the responsibilities. There's going to be a lot of experience that's going to leave us. But over the years, we've been training our staff and succession planning to allow them to take on these new challenges. We are obviously responsible for up to 300 vehicles, light-duty trucks, and pieces of equipment that the city owns. So we have garbage trucks, fire engines, squad cars that we try to keep running, so make sure that these important services are provided to our community. Another important component is our municipal services. We are housed under the municipal services, and here I just wanted to show an example of, in 2011, we lost our leadership out at the Municipal Services Center. We lost our Assistant Public Works Director, our Operations Manager, our Field Services Manager, a very experienced customer service technician, and in a few months, we're going to lose maybe another 1 or 2 of these people for retirement. But here's a new team in 2014. Obviously, you can see from the faces in both pictures, very happy. We're a dedicated bunch. We love to serve the community. We're very proud of this community, and we want to help it out and keep it vital and strong. And so it does take a large team to serve our community. We're really proud. We're dedicated. We get up really early in the morning. We take a lot of pride in our work, and we want to know that we're here to serve the community and that we touch a lot of different services in our town, and we feel that we're just as important as far as police and fire and keeping this town safe, making it livable, and making us proud to live in Watsonville. And that ends my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you for your thorough presentation. Council, any questions? Councilmember Daniel Dodge?
I want to thank you very much for coming forth on this presentation, because my experience is a lot of the council questions that we get as council members pertain directly to your services. So you really should come more often, you know. And that being said, is I wanted to ask a couple of questions about your streets crew.
Sure.
And you said they replace signs and such like that?
Yes.
You know, Hanger Way is spelled wrong?
Oh, yeah.
Anger, and I believe there was another issue with Ramsey Park.
Okay, I just wanted to make mention of that.
Yeah.
And your graffiti crew, what happened to your graffiti crew?
The graffiti crew is still there. The graffiti crew is one person.
Yes, that's and I saw one of the other gentlemen. They do a fantastic job. It's above and beyond, and I would like to see us dedicate more resources to that. That's why I was asking in particular.
Yeah, it's really difficult. I mean, we have an individual. He's very dedicated.
Very
He's very on top of things. He works with the police department, with the community. He tries to really inform the community, work with the property owners a lot, and help them out, and also make them self-sufficient. And we provide a lot of resources to our residents and our businesses. But you're right. Like, for example, at this moment, we have a rash, a large number of graffiti incidents in town. And with the weather, we're trying to do our best. But and we're working really hard.
Understandably, but I fully support that, and make sure the city manager hears the conversation going on. The Waste and Recycle Center, model for all communities. When I've told all the communities about our Waste and Recycle Center, particularly outside of California, they have no idea what it is. I think it's a model for all communities, and you really ought to figure out how to market yourselves more about that. I think it's an example. But I will say, in my last, I guess, the street sweeping, a lot of people don't realize that some areas aren't marked with signs, so that they're not marked, so that the street sweepers cannot get in. There's nothing limiting days that they can park back and forth, so that their areas of the streets don't get swept if there's a rash of cars that are on the streets. Do you want to kind of comment on that process about how some streets are marked for street sweeping and some aren't, and what it takes to become that?
Sure. There is a process actually in our Public Works Department, and we've taken requests over the years. And there is a process that we run through our Assistant Public Works Director. And basically, it's a petition. Residents petition us to install parking restrictions for whatever the reasons. And what we do is, once we receive a certain number of signatures and petitions, what we do is we'll send our own formal City of Watsonville asking the residents if they desire to have these restrictions in their town. I mean, in their street. I'm sorry. And also explaining the results of these restrictions. So you know what the causes and effect are.
Right.
Because that means that people can't park on the curb on the service day, and that affects not only sometimes their block, but several other blocks or other streets. So, and just so you a little quick history is, these restrictions are historical for service reasons way back 20-something years, and they were established. And there hasn't been a huge growth of them over the last 20 years, I can say.
That's what
and so one of the things that staff we're looking at is what streets really merit this. And we've been doing audits, both from the street sweeping route and from the route managers, taking a look based on complaints, based on the cars and basic conditions of certain streets. And we've slowly identified certain streets, and we may come to a plan where we want to install or add more streets to our list of current restrictions. But yeah, law requires us to notify people when they come to the street that there's restrictions, and that if they park a vehicle within certain regulations, they're going to get cited. So that's what's required in order for us to do that. But we're looking diligently at that. We want to see if there are possibilities.
Well, the reason that came up in particular, where I had some questions, and thank you for the Public Works Director for answering them, pertaining to certain streets that I have on hills in my district, and their interest in becoming, because of the street sweeping issue, they felt that there wasn't enough street sweeping because I had to explain to them that they weren't,
Yeah.
those traffic regulations weren't enforced or forcible or whatever.
Yeah,
that
then
is.
they're not enforceable because there's nothing in place. And we do receive calls regarding that from residents throughout town, and our staff are well informed of them. And sometimes I've had to speak to them and let them know about how to follow a petition, how to get your street on a restricted installed restrictions. And so we get a lot of these concerns, and we actually, it would be great. It'd be in a perfect world we wouldn't have any vehicles. Then we would keep the town 100% clean. But that's a perfect world, and
Yeah, we all can't ride bikes to Santa Cruz. I
Yeah.
already had that discussion on several levels, but, again, graffiti, thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for your questions.
Councilmember Trina Kaufman-Gomez?
Now, we have the methane that is right over by Buena Vista. What is our anticipation on how long we'll be able to have that production there? I mean, is this a 10-year, 20-year? I wouldn't imagine it definite, but there's got to be some sort of end of life methane cycle. somehow.
Yes. In phase 1 and 2 that closed in 96, we're still producing high quality methane there, and that's 96, so that's what, 18 years or so.
Okay.
So some of these landfills, depending on the area, the weather, the geology, and all that, some of them are known to be producing methane and other residuals up to 30 plus years.
And good revenue production. I'm very pleased at how resourceful the department is with all of the services being provided that are being self-sustaining, instead of an investment that we have to continue to contribute the money for. I know that it takes an investment to get it started, but I'm very pleased that we do have the very high-end recycle and the capability of doing everything on reinvestment. Self-sustaining is really important. I've also taken the liberty, and as well as Councilmember with Felipe, Ramsey Park, and taking tours in the trails there with regards to the city staff. And not only is this a cleanup concern, which is a safety sanitation issue, but we do have quite a bit of the homeless in these environments, and they know that these are people too, and that they have recognized the people that have fallen on hard times. And when it comes to doing the cleanup, at least informing them that it's time that this area needs to be cleaned up, and that there is communication. They're just not going in there bulldozing, and the people can figure out where else to go. So there is still a bit of a relationship fostered, even in the homeless environment, with your city staff. And I really appreciate the respect that you give people that are in that situation. The street repairs, how do you go about when somebody asks for, the potholes on the street? Is there a process, an application? What can we tell them? What is the best way of instructing them if they feel that there's something that's necessary in their community that they need the city to address?
Typically, the pothole repairs is taken care of by the Field Services Division, and I know they have a list and a schedule of the days or during the month when they go and do that type of work. Typically, what a resident can do is they can call the customer service number, the 768-3133 number, the number in the Municipal Services Center, and report it. And the staff there will take their information and pass it on to the Field Services Manager, and then he'll put it on his schedule and have the staff go out there. And I can't remember what the schedule is now because it's a different manager who handles that, but it does get on the list and it gets addressed on a regular basis.
Yeah, because there's quite a range. I mean, sometimes it's just all of the debris that's in the gutter areas, and when we start to have rains, these areas are going to have an issue. Other times, cement curbs, that kind of thing. And I mean, I have somebody that wants the city to come and fix an alleyway that is the benefit of about 6 residents that are there, and I've had to go through the process to explain to them, this is a cost factor. This isn't just because you want it done, we can get this done. Our revenue resources are very limited, and there should be a process, and we need to just make sure that there's a continuity in explaining that. We're having the website has this, and here's a link to explain that. Maybe something like that would be resourceful for people to know where to go and ask, or an FAQ on those items, as an example.
Sure, we'll take that into account and put something in there.
Thank you.
Councilmember Hurst?
Thank you. I've been lucky enough to hang out with Gabe at the landfill several times. I may be the most recognizable council member at the landfill. And I've also had the tour of the MSC a few times too. And so I feel like I'm familiar with a lot of the public works operations. And I'm glad that Councilmember Dodge brought up the graffiti, because I think that that is kind of a, if there is a weak spot at all, I know you're overwhelmed and overworked on all kinds of projects, but graffiti seems to be very pervasive, and you got a lot of people working against you on that, apparently. You know, I'm glad to hear about the street sweeping arrangement. Nothing prohibits the residents from, they know what day the truck's coming, right? If it follows the garbage truck for the most part, right?
Yes. Yes.
Well, they know what day the garbage is getting picked up, so nothing stops them from moving their cars, if there is a place to move their cars, and that's sometimes the case. So, you know, here again, a lot of problems could be solved throughout the community by community engagement, by community partnership, by folks working together on their block and their neighborhoods, their neighborhood watches, other ways that folks could communicate and work together to solve problems that aren't just exclusively public works' problems. So I'm glad to hear the progress that's being made. And, you know, I've got to say that someone called me about a pothole last summer. And after I reported it, it was fixed the very next day. I couldn't believe it. They couldn't believe it. I don't think that happens all the time, but it was very impressive and certainly responsive to community needs. So there again, we say thank you. You know, Gabe and I get to go to the county solid waste task force meetings, and so if you ever get bored in your council duties, solid waste task force is really where the action's at, because we get to talk about all kinds of waste and human waste and wasted time and sharps and needles and recyclables, and we discussed plastic bags till we were ready to put one over each other's heads. So I feel lucky that I've gotten to hang out and see the good work of Public Works, and we're thankful for the roundabout and even the S-curve at Lincoln and Freedom. Things that aren't universally popular sometimes, but, you know, hopefully they turn out to be improvements and good things, and we're excited about your future, and we just want to be able to provide the kind of resources and background and support for progress into the future again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Dodge.
One quick question. After the cookie. One quick question. The picture that you showed of all the employees, would you say the majority of the employees inside Public Works reside in the city of Watsonville?
A huge portion of them, yes.
That picture right there.
If you look at this picture, I'd say, yeah, a vast majority of them. I'd say, let's see here really fast, maybe 80% of them.
And that I wanted to point that out, that it's residents of our community who work in our community to maintain our community. So thank you is duly noted.
You know, they don't get paid enough to live in Pebble Beach.
From Santa Cruz.
Councilmember Bilicic.
First of all, I wanted to thank you for taking care of the manholes on the recent resurfacing streets. And is there a plan to address the manholes that were done previously, the last couple of years? Is there a new plan?
Yes, absolutely. That was just our preliminary project. We wanted to do a fairly small trial project just to see how it went, and it went well. And so we are gearing up to do some additional projects around that.
Are you also going to take care of the, I don't know, the valve holes? Or the, I don't know.
Looking at that as well. Yeah, we'll look at both.
I think that's, it's good to finish the street, so to speak. And I think it made a difference when the manholes have been covered, and residents have asked. They said, "Oh, this is great, and are they going to finish more?" And I honestly, I didn't know, so it's good to say publicly that
Yes.
in time.
We will be doing it.
Freedom Boulevard. We've dug up, you've done the sewer pipe, you've done all of that. When is that scheduled for resurfacing?
I believe it is scheduled for next fall, late summer to fall for resurfacing.
Summer, fall. And then the street sweeping. I've heard you talk about petitions and the whole thing. I still don't understand, and I can't get the community to understand why, when we live in the same city, there aren't the same rules on every street. Why we don't have, just like Councilmember Hurst said, well, you put your garbage cans out, there's going to be street sweeping when the blue cans are out or whatever. Every 2 weeks you come through, but there still are people who keep their cars there, and on some streets they get tickets and others they don't. We live in the same city. We're not in a different area. I mean, we're in the same city. The rules should apply to everyone. I don't understand it, and I can't explain it.
Well, historically, the parking restrictions were out of necessity back more than 20 years. The areas that were identified were fairly high dense areas, and they were established many, many years ago, and they were never really revised or reanalyzed as far as the rest of the city. So as over the years, as the routes and the type of service that we provide or the type of equipment that we use changed, some streets actually get swept on the same day. So one of the issues or the complications with that is the streets that get swept on the same, both sides get swept on the same day, wouldn't have any areas to park. And so there's a lot of areas in town that are swept that way. And it would be it's possible, I'm not saying it's not impossible, but it would take a major restructuring of all the garbage routes in order to incorporate all of that to allow people, some residents to park on the opposite end of the street to allow for the high dense volume of vehicles that we have in this town. So that's in some of the streets. In other streets, it was just, like I say, it was a historical thing where there isn't a need. There are some streets in town where there's very little vehicles parked. And there are pockets of town that we can identify, like the Martinelli, Brewington area, there's very little. The Delta, Bridge Street area, there's very little out there.
But I hear those people talk too, saying, okay, it's that one vehicle always there and they have to go around it. And there's all this dirt under that car. When is that car going to move?
And what we do is we do speak to the residents. We talk to the residents. Someone calls in our office. It's very common to get a call similar to that. And what I do is, I'll call the resident. They'll give me the address, and I'll let them know, hey, we're customers. Your neighbors are calling, and your vehicle's in the way on our day of service. Is there any way you can park it in your driveway that day? Because we see that you have room in your carport or your driveway, or so that we can do a better job of sweeping. And if we don't get a hold of them over the phone or in person, also send a letter to inform them. Because like Councilmember Hurst says, you can park off the street. I mean, you can park in your driveway, and that'll solve it. Because we don't want to punish you. We're not bad guys. We just want to make sure we clean this town. So it's all these things that come together when making this decision. Is it possible to do that? We sure can. We can take a look at it.
Well, I think it's a bigger problem than just street sweeping, because you kind of mentioned it already. Some of the residents are very concerned that they have no place to park in front of their own home because there are neighbors' cars. There's too many cars for a home, and it just then when the street sweeping comes and then they don't sweep, then they're upset because the neighbors parked in front of their house. I mean, it's too many cars, too many residents in single-family dwelling homes. That's the bigger issue. And cars, there was a time when they used to have permits. You could have all the cars you want in the driveway, and you had one permit that you were given by the city to park on the street, and then you could purchase an additional one. But that was it, 2 cars on the street per residence. And I mean, now you could have 10 cars on the street. And people, I know nobody owns the streets. I got that. We've said that. But there's a courtesy thing, and it's not practiced universally. It's not a good thing. But as far as the street sweeping, I think You are addressing it. I think maybe we need to expand it a little bit so that all streets are swept. Of course, that's staffing. It's a lot of issues. But I appreciate what you've done. I think you do a great job, and Public Works is working very hard to address issues that have been left over, like the manholes or things like that. The railroad track. That's a good one. So the residents know, the railroad track on Riverside Drive and Walker. We have been working on that now for about 6 months, and it's going to be the train company, is it? Train company is going to eventually fix that track. So as you bump across, remember, the city has been trying to address that for quite a while now. But Director Palmisano is making progress, he and his staff, and I think hopefully it'll be addressed sooner than we think. Thank you.
Thank you again. Thank you for the great presentation, and thank you for all the great work for our city. Again, you guys, your department is always real responsive to the needs of the community, and I commend you guys on that. That concluding the comments from the council. Is there any public comment on this item? Nope, seeing none. We'll move on to the next item, emergency items added to the agenda, which is there is none. Information items, none as well. And I'll move to adjourn this meeting.
Good job.